Okay, got the red smoke.
Gun runs north to south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. You're cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
We spent like last year like exploring it. We haven't launched anything yet, so we're doing an RTD, but we're launching it specifically on Amazon.
Okay. So just straight digital.
Straight digital.
Yeah.
And like maybe eventually we'll get into like retail, but not until we have like a partner on board.
Man.
If you look at the people who've done like very well with Beverage,
yeah,
they've partnered with a distributor, give them percent of the business, and then blow it up.
I mean, how many times have you gone to a gas station and tried to educate yourself on the new products in the glass? Because the answer for me is zero.
Yeah.
Because my car is filling up and I want to go back and get in the car and get on the road.
Yeah, or you just buy what you know is reliable.
How do you educate the consumer at the frosted glass, cooled beverage section at a gas station?
That's the thing. Is like I don't think it's on can. Like
No.
You have to build brand awareness outside of retail.
I think they have to know what they're looking for when they go in there.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I mean, that's why Prime has done so well.
Have they done great? I've heard things.
I mean,
first off, I have no insider knowledge, and I'm talking completely out of my ass when I say that. I've heard the term Prime, and it might have actually been associated with good things.
I think they're at like multi-hundred millions and like mid-teens EBITDA. I mean, I just saw the numbers for like Alani New. I think they're at 800 million in revenue and 15% profitability.
Really?
Which is like for an RTD is like
that's
rare.
Money. I don't even understand those numbers, man.
Or like even like that C4.
Yeah.
I mean, he just sold, I think 30% of the business for 800 million.
30% of the business for 800 million. That is not a bad evaluation.
It's what else? I just saw another deal.
What would you do if somebody wrote you a check for 800 million? Other than give 400 million of that to Uncle Sam.
I mean, it's like that's money that I can't even like.
I don't get it.
Fathom where to put places.
What would you do though? What would be your first purchase? Like actual legit outside of the wheelhouse of normal thought. Like I need a Bugatti. I don't want a Bugatti. I need a Bugatti type purchase. What would you buy?
Of like wants, not needs.
100% want. Like needs are out the window because now you have 800 million. It's just whatever you want.
Want? Just like a dream property.
Really?
Oh yeah, just like the big.
How many acres are we talking?
Not too much.
Okay.
I'd say like 100 acres, but I want it like pristine, perfect, where there's trails, the barn. I don't want to build a house that looks like an old house, but it is a new house.
Okay.
It's like you get like the new house without all the old crap associated.
Yep.
I just want like the perfect land and property. The animals.
What vehicle would you buy? I feel like it's going to need to be a truck.
Well, my dream vehicles, I'm going to have it in 2 months. It's 1974 F-250 crew cab highboy.
Michael, I'm going to need you to pull this up because I need to see this. A 74 is your dream vehicle.
Yeah.
I feel like you weren't alive in 74. I wasn't either, and I'm definitely older than you.
I'm 90.
Okay.
But I love that body style.
I got to see a picture. Oh, man. Michael, can you please figure out why that screen does that every time we pull it over?
I'm pretty sure it's not fixable.
Is any of the color schemes up here? Is this your dream truck?
It's boxwood. The one I'm getting is boxwood green. That's a more of a forest green. Boxwood green. So I found this was like completely random. I was on something like a mattish. So I was on Instagram just looking at old trucks months ago, and I came across a shop down near Kyle, Texas, and I messaged a guy. I was like, "Hey, like I'm just looking for an old like '70s highboy. This just came in the shop. I'll help you build this."
So are you going to rebuild to 70s tech, or are you going to go the route where it looks like the 74, but under the hood is all modern, like they do with the old Broncos, where it's supercharged?
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
It's 70s.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, where it looks like it has the roller windows, but you just push down. It's a
yes, yeah. No, this is all like everything's analog.
Okay.
No electronic doors or.
That's the dream truck.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Montana Knife Company. I highly recommend you head over to montanaknifecompany.com and see what they have to offer. They don't have everything in stock. They're doing their best to do so. And if you head over there, man, they have a good selection. As I read this, they're getting ready to launch their Hellgate Hatchet tonight, which is a Thursday. So they release Thursdays and Saturdays, I believe. They also have releases that will come out from time to time in between. So sign up for their email list or a text announcement. I've actually purchased knives and other accessories both of those days and both of those ways because you have to get in there early. They have a great warranty program. Lifetime sharpening, something that you should take advantage of. If anybody's like me, I can dull a knife like nobody's business. These things hold an edge very well, but they can be hard to get. I highly recommend heading onto their website, purchase something small. They have what I would recommend. I'm scrolling on their website right now. Go down to their apparel section. God, they make some cool shirts. Grab a t-shirt or a sticker or whatever it may be. Save your payment information because when they do these releases, as an example, last week they released one of their tactical knives. I believe it was gone in minutes. And we're talking thousands of knives. So it can be competitive to get one of these things. www.montanaknifecompany.com. Fantastic American brand, American made, American assembled, American finished, American shipped. Obviously, they'll ship anywhere in the world. But head on over, do the best you can to try to get one of these bad boys. When they ask you where you came from in the checkout process, just tell them me or the Cleared Hot podcast. MontanaKnifeCompany.com. Back to the show. I would have to go with the Hennessy Raptor.
The Hennessy Raptor is beautiful. I have a Raptor myself, and I love it.
Yeah. Raptor or Raptor R?
Raptor.
Okay.
I wanted to get the Raptor R, but
It's just more horsepower, right?
Yeah, but I was told whenever I go to get oil changes, they say that the Raptor R is insanely inconvenient to get oil changes.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, the oil that's required for the Raptor R is super special and unique. But even like my Raptor, I can't take it into certain places to get oil changed or...
Aren't they just turbocharged? I mean, a Raptor is an awesome truck, but it's not incredibly crazy.
Apparently, like the way you get to remove the parts to change the oil is super inconvenient. So a lot of people just won't do it.
I mean, the old Hennessy Raptor with the old 1,000 HP under the hood.
Yeah.
The lift. I mean, not that I can afford it. I might have done way too much research on it just to confirm that I can't afford it. It's $250,000.
That's insane.
I completely agree. And I tried really hard to justify it to myself and convince myself that I had enough money to buy it, which I don't.
I mean, anyone can buy any car they want.
That's the problem, is I know if I went to a lot, they would say, yeah, no problem, we'll make this work. It's only $18,000 a month for 72 years, and you're going to be fine. And it's such a badass truck, I would legitimately consider that. And no, I got kids, I got a wife, I can't play that game.
Yeah, the danger is if I go to look at it.
That's the problem.
And I test drive it, like...
Because it looks amazing on Instagram, which is where it caught me too. I saw that. And I know if I went into the studio and you just slide into the seat, which you know is going to be amazing, and they let you turn on the 1,000 horsepower engine, of course you're going to test drive.
Yeah.
How do you come back from that? You don't is the answer.
A few years ago, I bought a 96 F-250. And it was
liking
power
old
stroke.
F-250s.
I love the old F-250s. And I love this truck. But the engine just went to crap on me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I love those old body styles, though.
I kind of like the newer ones. I don't know why. Teach their own. It's like art. Sometimes it means something to people, and other people look at it and say, this makes no sense.
I like the new F-250s. Like I would love either an F-250 or an F-350 all jacked up.
I've had an F-350. It was capable of moving just about everything.
Was it a dually?
No, I've never had a dually. I've never had a reason to have a dually, even though have almost talked myself into getting a dually with a gooseneck. I don't own a trailer.
Yeah.
I don't know. These are the irrational conversations I have myself. Like, yeah, dually, gooseneck, because then I can walk through this fantasy land of my mind where I would get something that was a gooseneck with no intention behind it and would never probably use it.
I mean, the most I use my truck for is to put like my wife's Amazon boxes in.
Correct.
To take to our warehouse to throw away.
Currently, right now, I have an empty bucket in the back of my F-150. Yeah, it's I basically take cardboard from the house, from the daily Amazon shop, stuff that shows up, and throw it in the garbage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. That Hennessy Raptor is pitched as an off-road vehicle. I bet you single-digit percentage of owners would ever take that thing off the pavement.
I mean, I wouldn't even want to take mine off
I
pavement.
wouldn't either. I would just want to race people on pavement.
Yeah. I mean, I get my truck detailed every once in a while, and I try to keep it as like clean as possible for as long as possible. And what messes up is my kids. My kids just make a mess.
How old are they?
My daughter's about to be 3, and my son's about to be 1.
Oh, man, you're in the trenches.
So it's like it's snacks everywhere in the backseat.
I'm trying to think. So my oldest is, I'm in birthday season. My daughter just turned 17. My middle son will turn 20 in August, and my oldest will turn 22 in October.
Oh, wow.
But I remember those days. I'm trying to think of the worst thing I ever found in a car seat. Because there's some fun ones, like fully soiled diaper underneath the rear seat that had been there for, I would have to estimate, a week.
Yeah.
Again, this was in my ex-wife's car. How that happened, I don't know. I feel like that is an instant throwaway, but for whatever reason, people can probably imagine the smell of that. But yeah, I mean, food in areas that I didn't know was possible. Goldfish, I think, was crushed goldfish dust. But definitely like rotted food. My kids were going through a phase. I would make them lunches every day, and instead of eating them, they would stuff them down the cracks of the seats because they didn't want to get in trouble for not eating their lunch, which I didn't understand because I remember being hungry as a child. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, my kids don't want. Like my daughter's at this phase, but like, she doesn't want to eat anything that I make her. So I end up making like a second dinner. My son.
That means she's the boss of you.
So she is 100% the boss of me.
Yeah.
My relationship with my son right now and my daughter is completely different. Like my daughter has me wrapped around
Welcome to the rest of your life.
her finger.
My relationship with my sons is different in between the two of them. Very different personalities, and my daughter's is completely different. They have the switch. You're screwed.
I can tell already.
Yeah, the headbutting will come between her and your wife.
Oh, I am anticipating that.
And then both will come to you independently, and you're screwed.
Great. So early on too.
It's cool. Enjoy it while you can. I've met so many parents who kind of want to rush through that phase. And what I'll say is this. In my experience, at least, I have a data point of 3, I guess, for kids. The number of problems you face will not decrease. The complexity of the problems will increase. I mean, drugs, sex, alcohol, it's just hope it doesn't all happen at once. Yeah. Interfaces with law enforcement, that's been a fun one. We're dealing with that one recently. Nothing wild, but those are fun calls or text messages if you happen to know some of the officers.
Yeah.
Relationships, my daughter, breaking up with a boyfriend. Natural reaction, obviously kill this person, but, maybe it just wasn't the right relationship.
Yeah, I can only the thing is, it feels like it's so far away, but
It'll be here like that.
dude, I was thinking about this the other night. I feel like my daughter, and it sounds so cliche, but it feels like my daughter was just born, and now she's having full conversations, and like the things that she's remembering and picking up on.
Oh yeah,
It actually put things into perspective of how fast it is moving and how quickly it's going to be gone.
wait until you start having existential conversations about life and desires, and they're asking you deep questions about what you believe and why. Stand by. It's wild.
It scares me.
At my oldest, I still remember the first time I held him, as if it was yesterday. All 3 of my kids. I have so many memories from when they were young. And it's tough because I have to remind myself, I'll see them, and my initial thought is, I think as a parent, they're just trapped in time at that age. And one of them is moving into his first apartment next month, and he goes to college down in Bozeman. And we were down there. I was able to go with him and get the keys to his apartment and film him walking in and all that cool stuff. And I'm like, I remember you just being a blob, unable to do anything, completely reliant upon your parents to handle everything, and now you're just off,
Right.
spreading your wings. It's wild, man.
It makes me think of building a business where, before you start your business or before you have kids, you think you have this plan you're going to lay out.
All
And
the
it's
variables are accounted for.
This is how I'm going to do this, and this is how I'm going to do that. And then it happens, and you're blocking and tackling.
Yeah.
And I could see very quickly or easily how if you don't take a step back and kind of assess the situation and make intentional choices, that it happens so quickly. You're like, oh, damn, like I skipped X, Y, and Z because I was just blocking and tackling the whole time. I wasn't actually in it and present and able to assess and address and plan.
Yeah. Do you think you'll have more kids?
Me and my wife have
Different
different opinions on that.
Well, you have a boy and a girl. We had 2 boys, and my ex-wife wanted to have a daughter. I don't know how far that would have gone if my daughter had been a boy. I think that would have been a bit of the end of it. I will say this, 2 kids is easier than 3. They have this ability to understand when the defense has shifted from man on man to zone.
That's the best way I was described, how 3 is compared to 2.
They don't talk about it, but they realize if one goes left and one goes right, the fullback dive is wide open, and they'll just do it. It's impossible. You are literally playing zone defense for the best of your ability.
I mean, for the rest of my life, I'll never forget the moment I realized this. Me and my wife were on a date night at this restaurant in our hometown, and we just started talking to this couple next to us, and they had 3. We had 2 at the time. He was like, man, going from 2 to 3 was, you're playing zone instead of man to man. And for some reason, I sat back and was like, holy crap, I'm not ready for zone. My wife would love 3, maybe even 4, but we'll see. I mean, my son's still so young.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I would recommend. I see people who take a really big gap in between their kids, almost teenage years, and then they start over. That seems to be a rough road.
I don't know if I'd like that.
Well, it's not that much easier, though. I had 5 consistent years of children in diapers. 5 years of wiping asses, getting pissed on. It's explosive sometimes. People don't understand what it's like to have it come out the back of the diaper underneath the clothing just covering. You have to experience that to understand what that's like. 5 years of that is rough. I don't think I would have wanted to restart.
I mean, you become numb to it.
You do. You're in the trenches, and then one day you realize you have more money because you're not spending an inordinate amount of cash on diapers and wipes and the wipe warmer and oh.
I mean, I remember it hit me, the fact of how numb I was to it a few months ago, shortly after my son was born, where he was crying in the middle of the night. I went to get him up to change him, and I'm trying to do it with just the wipe warmer light. And I didn't want to turn the lights on because I didn't want to illuminate the whole room. You don't want to wake him up, yeah. Exactly. He was calm. So I'm trying to like navigate. I should have put a headlamp on at this point. But I ended up getting poop on my hand, and I just wiped it on my shirt.
Yep, that's
Didn't think much. I just wiped on my shirt and like went back to bed. And I woke up in the morning. I was like, oh my gosh, there's poop on my shirt.
This is my life.
This is my life. Whose poop is this?
Well, at least you had an answer to that. I've woken up before and didn't know the answer to that, but it's a different story for a different day. How did you get into business? You seem to be very entrepreneurial, or you knew that you wanted to go into business. Well, I still don't know if I want to be in business, and all of mine have been accidental, I think. You seem to have been a lot more targeted.
I don't know if I would say I wanted to go into business necessarily, but I wanted to build a brand.
How did you know that so young, though? I mean, when did you start thinking about that?
And it was, thinking back to high school, when I was in high school, I was entrepreneurial in a way that I didn't know was entrepreneurial. So I was mowing lawns.
Yeah.
Growing up. We were growing up in this neighborhood that was brand new. So we were one of the first houses in this neighborhood. Mm-hmm. There were dumpsters all over the neighborhood because they're constructing new homes. So I was probably 11, 12, 13 years old. Take my wagon around. I jump in these dumpsters. I pull out wood, take it back to our house, and I build things. Whatever I could build, I was building stuff. For Christmas, I was asking for like power tools from my parents.
How did they respond to that?
They were all about it.
Cool.
They were all about it.
I like it.
I was getting like drills and jigsaws.
Most people are asking for a Nintendo, like, hey, there is this Kubota awesome wireless drill that I'd like with the drill attachments, please.
Yeah, I didn't get into video games at all.
You didn't miss much.
When I was young. No,
you didn't miss much.
I wasn't attracted to it. So in high school, I was doing all of that kind of stuff. And then I ended up going to college. I went to college on an Army ROTC scholarship.
Yeah.
And I was studying nutrition. So I was going to the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and I was going for free because I was on that Army ROTC contract. And I was obsessed with the bodybuilding, powerlifting, supplement space then. And if you look back at like that industry back then compared to now, it's completely different. The Arnold Fitness Expo was massive. Mm-hmm. Pre-workout was new to the scene. I mean, I vividly remember my first experience with pre-workout.
I do too.
I was hooked.
I remember, so I was stationed in Coronado, and there was this super off-brand, hole-in-the-wall supplement place that other guys would recommend. And they were just like, hey, go in there and get the yellow jackets, which wasn't the name of it. But I think the pill casing was black and yellow, and it had to have been methamphetamine. It had to have been. If you took 2 of those before a workout, you were either going to have the best workout of your life or a heart attack.
Well, that was the industry back then.
Yeah, it was everything I thought it could be. It was amazing. When they stopped selling those, I was kind of bummed, and also likely addicted at the time.
Well, that's one of the reasons I got into the industry, because when I was freshman, sophomore, even junior in college, I was mixing up my own pre-workout supplements.
Oh, God.
So I'd buy ingredients in bulk online. I was buying caffeine, citrulline malate, creatine, beta-alanine.
So you've always been wired differently. Most people would just go to the GNC.
Well, I would do that until I realized I was running out of money. So when I was in the Army ROTC program, I was getting a stipend every month. So at the beginning of that month, I'd buy these ingredients in bulk. And then if you walked into my dorm room when I was in college, it looked like I was selling drugs because I had a food scale.
Yeah.
And I had white powders everywhere. And I'd mix up pre-workout. My friends would come to my dorm room or my apartment, knock on my door. They'd hand me a few bucks. I hand them a baggie of white powder, which was pre-workout. But it looks like I'm dealing drugs.
For sure.
In college. And then I'd save that money and I'd buy more ingredients in bulk the next month. And I kept doing this until it was between my junior and senior year of college. Being in the Army ROTC program, we got offered what they called a pre-commissioning loan through USAA. And it was up to $25,000. And all my peers were buying engagement rings. They were going on vacations. They were getting new cars. And it was a sweet deal because we didn't have to make any payments for 18 months after we got the money.
It's very nice.
And it was a very low interest rate. So I thought it was my golden ticket.
Yeah.
So I got approved for the loan, $20,000. I found a manufacturer in California, placed my first production order for pre-workout, and got it shipped to my parents' house. And I told my dad I was going to make $1 million that first year.
What'd you call it?
Bear Performance Nutrition, and the pre-workout was called Flight.
Yes, Flate.
And here's the thing is, I had this plan that fitness YouTube at the time was brand new. So there were
Wasn't YouTube in general probably brand new at that time?
It was very, very new.
Actually, hold on. What year is it? If you're in college, we're talking like
This was 2012.
Okay, yeah. YouTube had been around for a bit. Probably hadn't caught fire the way that it is now, though.
It was being used in a different way then than it is now.
For sure.
But there were a few fitness YouTubers back then. And my plan was I was going to send some of my pre-workout to these YouTubers. And if a small portion of their audience converted, I thought I could make $1 million. And I told my dad this. He said, if it was that easy, everyone would do it. I said, I'm going to prove you wrong. So that first year we did $20,000 in revenue. That second year we did $20,000 in revenue. That third year we did $20,000 in revenue.
Damn it.
Far off from $1 million.
I mean, if you kept going for many more years, you would have gotten there at that pace. Like that. I didn't tell you how fast I was going to make that $1 million.
Collectively. I can't tell you how much it would have been profit.
That's rough, though. Yeah, man, the ideation and the reality. I feel like I've had a lot of $1 million ideas. Not a single one of them has actually produced $1 million. But I think that's just the way.
I thought back then it was going to be so much easier than it really has been.
Well, to steal a line from our mutual friend Cam Haynes, the Must Be Nice crowd. Right. When they see you at the top of or where you're at, and if you're having success, a lot of people will assume that it must be nice and it must have been easy for you. They don't get it. No. They don't see people forget between mountain peaks are massive valleys that some people don't make their way out of. And that actually to me is more fascinating than people at the apex. I'm way more interested in the journey between the two. Because everybody has that. Well, I don't know. Maybe if you grew up a son of a billionaire or something like that. Even those people, though, I've actually found that people with that level of wealth, they have different problems.
I think more money does bring.
Yeah, especially at an
problems.
earlier age where it removes boundaries where most people wouldn't be able to do some things or get into circles or have access to certain things. It can kind of scramble your eggs. Young.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, I'm assuming you had to, because of the ROTC scholarship, you were obligated to go into the Army?
I was, yeah. Because,
again, going back to what you're describing, did you have anybody in your family that was modeling that kind of entrepreneurial spirit? Do you have is this a genetic thing, or did you just come out of the box wired differently?
I think wired differently.
Okay.
But I had a very interesting dynamic growing up, which I wasn't able to recognize then, but years later. So my dad's side of the family, we're all dairy farmers in central Pennsylvania. Extremely hardworking people.
Yeah.
I mean, you're waking up at 4 a.m. to milk the cows, and every night before you go to sleep, you're milking the cows. So that whole side of the family, farmers in central Pennsylvania. My mom's side of the family, a lot of them were military. And that's what inspired me to go in the military, because my cousin Matt, this was 2006, 2007, early high school. I watched him. He was stationed at Fort Campbell for the 101st. And I watched him go on multiple deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan and was very kinetic. Mm-hmm. And I watched him transform from being this boy to this man. And I said, I want and need that for my life. So that's what led me to, I wanted to enlist. My mom said no. So then compromise was the Army ROTC scholarship, which back then no one really knew about. It wasn't as competitive as it is today.
Yeah.
So I applied for it and I pretty much just got it.
If you hadn't have been obligated, let's say you had gone under a different scholarship program, but you still had the opportunity to serve, do you think you would have, without that obligation, do you think you would have pursued the entrepreneurial path, or do you think you would have gone to the military regardless?
Gone in the military regardless.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted...
Because you kind of had to put one on pause, right? Actually, I don't know. I mean, you can have a pretty substantial side hustle when you're in the military if you manage your time appropriately, but it's not possible to do both at 100%.
No, and I learned it the hard way, where I thought, ignorantly, the business would be successful within a year after launching it before I went active duty, that it would just be building on its own.
Just cash flowing in the
I thought like passive income, you know? And that year went really fast. You know, I launched it. I was packing orders out of my apartment and I dropped them off on my way to class in the morning. I used all the money on the loan. So I had a friend design the website for free. I had a friend design the labels for free. And before I knew it, college is over, graduated, and I'm down in Fort Benning, Georgia for an entire year. And the business hadn't grown at all.
How much flate did you get with your
Flight?
Oh, I thought you said flate like inflate. Both would be good, actually. How much actual quantity did you get from that first order? Are we talking like a garage full?
500 units. Okay. So here's the thing. I ordered 500 units and I thought it was coming on a truck. So I had that first production order shipped to my parents' house because there's no way a truck's gonna be able to come to my college apartment. So I come home for a day. I live 3 hours from where I went to school. I come home and I'm waiting for this truck to drop off this massive amount of inventory. And it was ground FedEx that dropped off a box. It's this is 500 units?
You're waiting for a forklift to come out and just be dropping pallets?
For sure. So we carried all this inventory up to the room above the garage of my parents' house. And this is where I stored all the inventory. And then I would take a few units when I'd come home back to my college apartment. That's where I'd fulfill orders. But I thought 500 units then was
yeah,
I needed a warehouse.
Yeah.
I needed a closet.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Okay, so you kind of put it on hold as you went into the Army. How much time did you do in the Army?
Did 4 years. So I was at Fort Benning for a year. That was Infantry Officer, basic course, Ranger School, Airborne School, Bradley Leader. And then it was October of 2014, I ended up at my first duty station, which was Fort Hood, Texas. Mm-hmm. So it landed me in Texas. And when I got to Texas, my unit at the time, I was with 1st Cav, they were in Germany for an additional 3 months. So really, like my schedule was go check in the morning, see if there's anything to do with an ops, and if not, go home. So I had a lot of free time with those first 3 months while my unit was gone. And that's why I made the decision to start documenting my entire life on YouTube. Because I realized, okay, I have this business. It's not growing at all. I have all this supply. I have no demand. I have no money to pay anyone to help me build it or grow it. So I spent the last remaining $500 to my name on a camera.
How did you land on that choice, of all things? Were you just a connoisseur of YouTube? And was there something on there that inspired you to make that choice?
I loved watching YouTube fitness. Like in college,
Yeah.
I would drink my pre-workout and I watched YouTube fitness videos.
What kind of stuff was on there then? Was this mostly like Arnold, like bodybuilding type stuff, or?
Like vlogs.
Okay.
It was like these early day just fitness influencer athletes.
Just kind of recording their life and
Just
then
recording
in the
their
gym?
whole life. This is how I'm training. This is what I'm eating. Here's where we're traveling to.
Did they talk about the steroids they were taking?
Of the channels I was watching, it was like a lot of like the natural bodybuilding, 3DMJ, Matt Ogus.
Natural? Are we using air quotes in that?
No, these are like natural athletes.
Okay. Many natural. I'll use the Liver King as an example. Did you know that he's all natural? Just listen to him.
I did watch the documentary on
I
Liver
did
King.
too. What was he jamming into his leg when I don't think he realized he was? Did you see him pull the,
Oh, I remember
the
that.
auto pen out of the Yeti?
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, he said, I'm off all of this stuff. He was eating vegetables. I don't think it's a spoiler alert. He's basically laying down in a vegetable garden covered in morning dew. It was a little weird. But yeah, there was an auto pen injectable of some kind. I'm curious what in the hell that was.
I mean,
From
it
a
could have
man
been.
saying that he's off of everything.
It could have been a million different things.
Yeah. I wonder if he realized they captured that. Because wasn't that whole thing about him, like, hey, I'm done, like, I'm back to eating a little bit more balanced and I'm off all of my drugs. Also, how do you get off that many drugs and your physique does not change at all?
I expected that documentary to be something different than what was
What did you think it was
portrayed
gonna be?
like online. Well, it was like that whole thing was just like documented on social in real life in real time. I thought the doc would like show something differently.
It didn't really. It was kind of very adjacent to what his social media personality is.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I also find it hilarious that there are clear examples on YouTube of him talking in his normal voice, not the Liver King voice, but he just still sticks with it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But the industry back in like 2012, 2013, I'd say there were two extremes. There were the Olympia bodybuilding, Arnold Fitness Expo athletes who were obviously enhanced, extremely enhanced. But there was like this emergence of natural bodybuilding athletes, and it was led, I would say, by this group called 3DMJ, 3D Muscle Journey. And
this is a person, 3DMJ?
It's a coaching group.
Okay.
And they were really popular then. They made like flexible dieting and if it fits your macros popular. I don't know if you remember those terms or those diet approaches.
I mean, at this point, I worked for CrossFit for almost 10 years, so I've been exposed to damn near every eating strategy there is. But yeah.
It was essentially all about tracking macros and manipulating body composition just through tracking macros. So like this group called 3DMJ, Alberto Nunez, Matt Ogus, like these were some of the early day fitness YouTubers who were natural athletes, and they were just documenting the life of how they're eating, how they're training, how they're competing, how they're prepping.
Was it pretty raw? I mean, meaning
extremely raw,
not overly produced. It was just literally them talking into a camera, probably them doing the editing as well.
Yeah, it was very little cinematic sequences.
Okay.
It wasn't anything professional. It was very raw. But I fell in love with this because I felt like I was invested into their journey and their life.
Yeah, you're part of their community, for lack of a better term.
I was part of their community, yeah. So I always looked up to these guys because they were building something on their own. They didn't need any money to do it. And they didn't care about the criticism or hate they were getting. Because when I was in college, I had this idea, okay, if these guys can do it, I can do it. I filmed the video. I posted it. I got hate. I deleted the channel.
What was the video of?
It was like it was my pre-workout meal, and I vividly remember this. Like, I've been eating this pre-workout meal. That was this mixture that I would eat about 2 hours before every workout for years. And I thought, oh, I should share this with people because they'll appreciate this. I filmed the video. I posted it on YouTube. Just all hate.
Really?
I was like, you know what? This ain't the place for me. So I tried on 2 separate occasions to start a YouTube channel, and it got criticism. I deleted the video. I deleted the channel.
Okay.
So my 3rd attempt was when I landed in Texas, and I realized it's either now or never. Like, this brand isn't growing. I'm going to give it one more shot. I had $500 left to my name. I bought a camera. Bought a Canon T3i camera, 50 millimeter lens.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I just filmed everything. I filmed my meals. I filmed my training. I talked about being in the Army and what it was like being a platoon leader. I went into Austin and I would just film whatever I could think of. And that actually slowly started building the business, where that channel started growing very, very slowly. And then sales of supplements slowly started growing. And it wasn't anything dramatic or significant. It was maybe 1 additional unit per week. And I did this for 2 years, from 2014 to 2016, and very, very slowly grew. 2016, we got orders to go to South Korea, Camp Casey, for 9 months.
I've actually been there.
Oh, you've been there?
Yeah.
This is actually where my business took off.
Really?
So when I got to Korea, we were doing $2,000 a month in revenue. And I told myself, by the end of that 9-month training rotation, I want to be doing $10,000 a month in revenue.
Okay, 5X in it.
So it was, I'm not watching any movies, no TV, no socializing. Everything outside of work as a platoon leader will be spent building this business. And I realized that getting over there, I lived 50 feet from where I worked. There was no longer a commute. There weren't these distractions. I wasn't going into Austin on the weekends. So I rebranded our entire website in Korea. I built the platform on Shopify, launched new products, did a rebrand, studied marketing. I was studying Casey Neistat, learned how to do storytelling through YouTube videos.
That guy makes really cool videos.
Incredible.
Have you ever connected with him?
Yeah.
I reached out to him over Instagram, and he responded to me and helped me with a full camera selection, like Q&A.
He's amazing.
I'm like, fucking hell. That's awesome.
He is the king of storytelling.
Oh my God. Yes.
So I would watch his videos, and then I would come up with a topic of a video, and then I'd go into like Seoul on the weekend, and I'd tell a story throughout the whole course of this video. And then that channel, that YouTube channel, went from about 30,000 subscribers to 80,000 subscribers while I was in Korea. Every night before I'd go to bed, I'd write handwritten thank you notes for people who placed orders. I shipped them from Korea back to the States, thanking them. And within 90 days of being in Korea, we went from doing $2,000 a month in revenue to $10,000 a month in revenue.
Man, that's wild.
It was a crazy ride over there.
So your channel now, though, is well into the 7 figures. Did you notice at a point where the growth needle just started accelerating more towards vertical, or has it just been, I think probably the best people could ask for would be a steady 45-degree angle up. What was the biggest difference you noticed? Was it just the thoughtfulness and the intention that you had to what it is that you were doing?
It was the intention. It was like in the beginning.
I feel like consistency too.
Consistency is massive for platforms like YouTube.
Because you can have all the intention in the world. If you drop a video every other year, I don't really care how good it is.
Yeah.
Well,
if I think back to the beginning of YouTube, it was literally just taking a dart and throwing it at a board, and whatever would stick, that's what I'd go film. I was filming 10,000 and 20,000 calorie eating challenge videos. I was like, well, whatever I could think of to film.
Yeah.
That's what I was filming. And where a lot of it actually started shifting, one in Korea, and the videos that I was producing in Korea, those were catching wind. And that was growing the audience, but very slowly. And then when I got back from Korea, this was late 2016, I started transitioning out of the military, got out in 2017, it was me, my brother Preston, who moved down from Pennsylvania to Texas, and then our first employee and friend Joe, who they both still work for me and with me. It was the three of us. We were operating out of a house that I owned in Temple, Texas, that I bought with a VA loan. We signed our first warehouse lease for a 6,000 square foot warehouse, and we went all in. Went all into building the business. And that year, 2017, we did 1.7 million in revenue.
Damn.
But it was the hardest year of my entire life. Cash flow was an
Really?
absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. People would hear that 1.7, like, what are you talking about? Cash flow shouldn't be a problem.
So the way
not how it works.
Yeah, like I think if I would have said, in 2017, yeah, we're a 7-figure business, people would say, oh, like you made it. Oh no, like our business bank account some weeks had $1,500 in it.
Isn't it wild how sometimes you get really close to the treetops?
So close.
Externally, people think you are just, that would be the best phrase, you're on a gravy train with biscuit wheels, to use a metaphor that nobody has probably ever heard or will understand. But yeah, and then internally you look and you're like, I think we may or may not make payroll.
Many nights like that. I would lay in bed, and I have to take mega doses of melatonin to fall asleep because I was so stressed. But if you gave me the opportunity right now to go relive 2017,
Hell yeah.
I would do it in an instant. That was the most fun year of my entire life. And the reason cash flow was so tight is, like we talked about previously, I didn't have people in business growing up that could teach me about financing inventory, lines of credit, additional loans. Like my grandpa, being a farmer, taught me that the money you have to spend is the money that's in your account. So we had a manufacturer then, and we didn't have any terms with that manufacturer. So when we would place a production order, it was 50% cash for that production order down. We had 12-week lead times. And then before they shipped it from the manufacturing facility to us, I had to pay off the rest. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to pay off all the inventory before we received it. And we were selling through it so fast that I was having to stack production orders. So 12 weeks out, 10 weeks out, 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out, 4 weeks
A
out.
lot of checks going out.
So all this money was tied up in inventory with manufacturers. And somehow we just, every time we just bridged it. And we would do, if people have been buying from us since 2017, they probably remember they would get emails and say, flash sale for the next 8 hours, 25% off. We were doing those flash sales because we needed money in the next 3 days to pay rent.
Yeah, you needed to bridge the capital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually think about those emails when I see them. Like, I wonder if they have excess inventory or if there is a legit existential crisis operating behind the scenes that is causing this.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think there's strategy sometimes, but also
Sometimes it's I need money as fast as humanly possible so we can get through the next pay
it's
period.
emergency funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did the Army feel about your YouTube videos? Did they really care?
I had a boss, my company commander, and I had the conversation with him before it really started turning into something. And he was completely cool with it. So we had that conversation. But it was like, I was probably one of the first people in the military that was filming YouTube videos. I'm sure today there'd be different feelings because of where social media is.
Yeah.
But I try to keep it secret for as long as possible and really separate those two lives. So when I was filming YouTube videos on the weekends and at home, documenting the business, behind the scenes, my
And you're
training.
editing all these yourself. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like my schedule back then was like, get back from work from the Army, go to the gym, film videos till 10, 11 p.m., edit until 1 a.m., and then sleep for a few hours.
Yeah.
And then be at PT the next morning. And I would sleep between the time PT was over and, first call at work, and then during my lunch. I was always sleeping in my truck.
I had some good naps in my truck. Would you go front seat or back seat?
Front seat.
Yeah.
Front seat, recline.
Yep. It's not bad.
But I remember, I'll never forget this day, where I was filming these YouTube videos, and I thought I had these two lives separated. I had my Army life. I had my BPN YouTube life. I come into work one morning for PT, and I could hear my voice. I'm like, what is that? I can hear like
Somebody's watching one of your videos.
everyone was watching all of my videos. And it was this video of me deadlifting in bright neon green tights. And I've never been so embarrassed in my life when I saw them see me.
The move is actually you go back to the barracks and put them on and then go into work wearing them.
I should have. But it was very interesting where the entire company, it was an entire infantry company, they embraced it. They were super supportive. Like, they were rooting for me. They wanted to see me win.
That's awesome.
So it was completely different and unique compared to what I thought it was. It's like, oh yeah, Lieutenant Bear is just that guy who goes into the gym with like skin tight shorts on and deadlifts and films himself.
Skin tight shorts. Did you go codpiece?
Oh, it was fully exposed.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I would, you could enhance there. You could go socks, sweet potatoes, front and back if you wanted to keep people guessing.
Well, I manipulated the camera angles to make sure
Of course you did.
Yeah,
Yes, you're professional.
You figure out the angles, yeah.
Man, that would be a rough one to walk into work and, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were.
You just got to own it. That's all you can do.
That's all I could do.
Yeah, you can't put that genie back in the bottle.
That's all I could do is just own it. But they were super supportive, and I'm glad it worked out that way.
Did you ever consider doing more than 4 years in the Army?
Yeah. So when I was at Fort Hood, I applied. So there was a long range surveillance unit at Fort Hood. It was a core asset, and there were 3 or 4 platoons that was part of this long range surveillance unit. So there was one platoon leader spot that opened up, and I tried out for that platoon leader spot. I got selected to take that spot, so I was supposed to take that platoon to, I believe it was deployment to Afghanistan, but my brigade commander wouldn't sign my 4187 to, I believe it's called 4187, to release me from my current unit.
Oh, you probably had time you owed him still in the books.
Yeah, so he wouldn't let me go. So instead of going to that long-range surveillance unit, I ended up going to South Korea with my unit. And then when I got to South Korea, that's when I made the decision, I'm going to get out after this contract's up.
What's the biggest takeaway you took from your time in the military? What do you think? I mean, young in your life, but probably more life experience than most. I joined when I was 17. I didn't go in until I was 18. But it was a different period of my life. You had college behind you. You had a little bit more life experience. 4 years in, got to see some other countries. What'd you take from that?
So a few different things. One, very grateful for my experience in a leadership position and what I learned from. I had really good non-commissioned officers that developed me and led me. I mean, I learned more from my non-commissioned officers than my officer leadership.
The non-commissioned officers, I think in every military branch, they know how the sausage is made.
It was incredible. Like, me and my platoon sergeant had an incredible relationship. Worked very well together. But I've taken a lot of the things I learned there in terms of developing teams, building teams, the importance and power in culture, in camaraderie, and serving a greater mission than yourself, applying that to the business. I think also something that's very unique that the military teaches you that just going to the business world can't teach you is that when you go into business, there's a financial incentive that people are working towards. Oh, you want me to do this? Well, how much more money am I going to get paid?
I was going to say, what do I get for it?
What's the bonus? How much equity do I get?
Meanwhile, it's clearly in their fucking job description. It's a part of their daily job. How about none? How about you get your paycheck?
Right. And I'm not saying my business or my team or employees ask or do those things, but
many do. It's very common.
And if we look at the entire workforce culture, there is a financial incentive typically for the work that is required. But in the military, it doesn't matter if you work 20, 30, 40 extra hours a week or you're doing something much harder than you typically have to do. There's no additional, typically,
it's
financial
Excel spreadsheet
incentive.
How many years in? What is your rank? Find where those two converge.
Correct. So I think having that experience as a platoon leader and learning and finding out what motivates individuals and building true team and culture, I've directly applied that to my business.
Yeah.
Like culture is my biggest focus in building a true team that's serving a larger mission and purpose greater than yourself, and that's greater than financial incentive. And then coming around out of high school and college and going right to Fort Benning, I needed that humbling experience to realize that nothing is given and everything is earned. So like, you know, my first school was Infantry Officer basic course. And
what do they do for boot camp for you guys for ROTC?
That's considered like our introduction.
That's your transition from civilian to military? Okay.
Correct. So it was like 17 weeks.
Damn.
Infantry Officer basic leader course. And there were hard parts of it, but nothing too hard. And then I went right into Ranger School. And I thought Ranger School would be hard, which it was, but I thought I could go straight through. A 61-day leadership tactical evaluation course. I failed 2 phases, and one of those phases was during the Best Ranger competition. So I failed the first phase. It was a 6-week holdover. So I was at Fort Benning for an additional 6 weeks. Passed, went to the second phase, mountains, failed that phase, had to do mountains over again.
What's the first phase? What do you guys do there?
It's in Fort Benning.
Okay.
So you have like RAP week, which is all the physical assessment training, and then you go into patrols.
Okay.
And then if you graduate, you move on to mountains, from mountains to Florida. So I failed a phase in Florida, I failed a phase in Benning, and I failed a mountain phase. So it took me 4.5 months, 145 days to go through the 61-day course. I didn't think I was ever getting out of there. But the lessons I took away from there, from that experience was, nothing is given. Everything is earned. And it's going to be much harder than you expect it to be. So applying that to business, just going into it with the realization, expectation of, from this point on, nothing is going to be easy, and everything that I earn and get, I'm going to have to work for.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about culture the way that you do. I completely agree. I'd be curious your thoughts. I actually think military leadership is far easier than business leadership or civilian leadership because of what you talked about. For whatever reason that brought people to the military, they're there. And there's a few things that the military leadership ecosystem provides that the civilian one doesn't. One being a contract that will go to jail if you decide to violate said contract. And there are punitive measures, but the reality is they're all there. They're bought in largely, I would say, not all the way, but largely to the mission. You know what the pay is, the motivations, they may vary. But then you get into the civilian world and you don't really know why somebody is coming to get a job for you. Is it just the first job that they can get because they're in a financial crisis? Do they truly believe what you believe is a core value for yourself or the company? What motivates them? Can you talk to them the same way that you did in the military? I don't know about the community you worked in. I would say negative reinforcement was a large tool that we used inside of the community that I came from. If I talked to people at the coffee shop like that, I would have 0 employees. If they stuck around, they'd be awesome employees and we'd have some good laughs, but I don't think one person can run that entire shop.
Yeah.
It's harder outside. Owning a coffee shop and having 30 plus male and female, average age of 22 employees working for you is harder than a SEAL platoon. Because those people at a SEAL platoon, they had been grinding for 2 years just to even get there on their first day. They're so bought in. They get the mission. You tell them to do something, they will kill themselves. It's not the same in the civilian world.
Yeah.
You gotta connect with people where they're at, not where you want them to be. You got to find the vernacular that fits with them, find the motivation that works with them. And for me, on a coffee shop, let me just tell you, I have yet to meet the person that says, I actually want this to be my career. I would like to serve coffee my entire life. So it's transitory.
Right.
It's tough, man.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the type of business. But also, I'm sure our experiences in the military were different because you coming from a special forces community, the level of expectation and standard there.
Well, and screening too. Like you have to work your way through quite a few crucibles to get there. Like by the time you get there, buy-in is not the question.
Right.
So and that's why it's so easy though. Can you imagine a team of people in any business that had to work 24 to 36 months in a crucible that most people don't succeed at to arrive at their first day on the job, they're in. They're not going anywhere. You could almost, as long as you explain to them the importance of the mission and what you needed to do, like, good luck stopping those people.
Yeah.
You could almost, what it actually does is it hides bad leadership because they're so bought in that they will succeed in spite of poor leaders above them. And I saw this in the SEAL community. It is not a community of magic and perfection. The best leaders I ever worked with were in that community, and the worst leaders I ever worked with were in that community. But we never failed. So sometimes you're succeeding in spite of the leadership above you because you're so bought in on that mission. It's a different world.
Yeah, my experience comes from a line infantry unit. So really, you just get what you get.
Yeah.
You got to make it work.
Yeah, threaten them with no pay and no leave. It's like take their weekends away.
Right.
I'm joking. For any military leaders out there, I'm fucking joking.
Well, with
except for some people, that actually does work.
With the business, it took me a long time to get the team to where it's at right now. And it was not, I didn't make all the right hiring decisions right away.
Same.
And I've unfortunately had to let a lot of people go
It's
along
rough,
the way.
isn't it?
That's the worst part.
I agree.
It's the hardest part. But my team is in such a great spot right now. We have the right people in the right seats. That's one of the hardest parts. It's like sometimes you can have the right person, but if they're in the wrong seat, you are setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
So you have the right person, and then you have that person in the right seat. And it's taken me many years to get the team to where it's at right now. But that's come with a lot of honestly hiring mistakes, hiring too fast. Like one of my favorite quotes is
hire slow,
fire fast. Yeah.
Did you go to Airborne after Ranger School?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. I ask everybody who's gone there because I went to Bedding too. Was it still 3 weeks when you were there?
3 weeks. Yep.
If you had the ability to shorten that course, what do you think is the minimum amount of time required to teach you everything you learned in basic basic Airborne?
7 to 10 days.
My guess is 2. I look at back the PLFs, the swing landing trainers, the amount of time we spent on those, the rubber or just wood chip. Just okay, PLF to your left, PLF to your right. My God,
I was in the worst headspace in that school too because I went right after graduating Ranger School. So at that point, I was like, I don't want to deal with any more crap.
And there's Sergeant Airborne right in your face.
Right. And I also had like this kind of chip on my shoulder, like ego. I now have a Ranger tab on my shoulder, like, which is just so immature and naive and stupid.
What did you think of your first jump there?
I remember just getting the wind knocked out of me.
Yeah.
I vividly remember that jump.
On landing?
Oh yeah.
How were your nerves up in the airplane getting ready to jump?
Oh, I was pissing my pants.
Same. I was wedged. I look back, I'm really glad I wasn't the first person in my stick staring at the open door. We were in the C-130. Who knows how many people we had. But when the train started moving, like, you're not stopping that.
I mean, my heart's beating faster just thinking about that right now.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Man, it's not that bad. This parachute's probably going to open. No, I mean, I was dead center. I remember, the hookup, check static lines, all that stuff, and then it just started going. Like, you're not stopping that in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have gone if I was the first person out, though. I fell in love with skydiving afterwards, but static line is just a different beast.
Yeah, I've never done skydiving or free fall or anything.
Really? Like, never even like a tandem?
No,
Never
never.
been in the wind tunnel?
I've been in the wind tunnel, yeah.
Wind tunnel is fun. It saves you
Yeah.
time. You don't have to pack a parachute. You don't have to fly in an airplane. It feels exactly the same.
Yeah, me and my wife did that for a date night one night, and it was a blast.
Yeah, it's cool.
But I'll never forget my first jump where I pulled one of the risers when you're not supposed to pull it. And I just remember hitting the ground so hard backwards and just trying to breathe.
You and I had the same experience. I went after 2.5 weeks of practicing the most perfect PLF. I went heels head backwards and had a headache for about a week. But I remember laying there as the parachute was drifting down thinking, I don't know if I can survive 4 more of these. And thankfully, I did a better PLF on the other ones. But yeah, I mean, straight heel head backwards, just crack. It's great.
Gosh. I mean,
As they're yelling at people on bullhorns, turn away, turn away. And it's like, what guy should turn away? The dude wearing camo with the green parachute. So everybody is up there turning. Or there was one where the guys on the bullhorn were like, jumper with the malfunction, pull your reserve. Like 9 people pulled their reserve without malfunctions because they're just hearing the voice of God from below them yell, pull your reserve.
oh, if I hear that, I'm pulling my reserve.
I mean, you need to look up and assess your canopy. You may not need to. Just like okay. Yeah,
At what point in your military career were you at Airborne school? Was it early on?
right after Buds. They sent
Okay.
my entire Buds class, which was a horrible decision. Let me just add. We graduated Buds. I think we had a weekend off, and then a bunch of us caravanned in vehicles, stopping only in New Orleans to get completely blackout drunk.
I'm sure you guys just ran through Columbus, Georgia.
Who knows? Straight to Airborne, and then that's where they separated guys from East Coast teams and West Coast teams. But it was not a good idea to send us all there. We were what I would describe as a leadership issue, a disciplinary issue.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. You just the hubris of showing up, and I don't know if you guys know this, but I just graduated Buds, not even qualified as a SEAL, not even remotely near being qualified. And of course, our buddies were there too. So it's just horrible, horrible military decision.
Were you 21 yet at that point?
Oh God, no! I turned 20 in Seoul, Korea, just shit-faced at my first SEAL team. We were over there for Foul Eagle. I've been to Foul Eagle like 5 times. The Korean exercise?
Yeah.
Yeah. Chinhae, Busan, like all over Korea. Korea's beautiful.
I loved being in Korea.
Yeah. Seoul's a crazy town. Now, I remember I checked into SEAL Team 5. I was 19, and they're like, hey, there's some platoons in Korea for an exercise. Here is your middle seat economy class ticket. Link up with the guys when you get there. I'm like, fuck, okay. So
When you were in high school, did you know you were going to join the SEALs? Was that always the plan?
I knew I wanted to try since I was about 11. And I don't know why.
And you were in, what, 17 years?
Mm-hmm. Just under 17 years, a month shy of 17 years.
So how long have you been out now?
I got out the last day of June 2013, so coming up on 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it was yesterday still?
Sometimes. And then sometimes I'm actually enjoying that I'm having a hard time remembering some of the details. Like it's just something that I've been able to move past. I'll never be able to completely move past it, but my fear is that it will be all that I'm ever, like, people would ever look at. You know what I mean? All you're ever known for, which I'm very proud of my time in the military. And I'm glad I did the job that I did, but I also don't want to 30 years from now be the guy talking about shit that happened in 2002.
Right.
It's a tough balance.
So when you got out, what was the vision for what you wanted to do next?
So I was working for CrossFit at the time. So I was rehabbing from an injury. I call it a workplace injury, non-OSHA approved, in 2005. So I rehabbed and I moved from the command I was at to Buds as an instructor to allow me to basically continue rehabbing. And while I was there, I ran into and met the founder of CrossFit and a guy that had been working for him that I was born and raised in Santa Cruz. He was from Watsonville. He made the introduction, and the company was, I don't want to say it was new, but it was in its infancy of its growth curve that it went through in the later aughts, if you will, like the 8, 9, 10, when it was kind of really exploding. And they were starting to do some military seminars. So the first time I ever actually worked for the company, I went and shadowed a course up in LA, and then they took me up to Edmonton. And so I originally started just moonlighting on the weekends while in the military at Buds as an instructor. On the weekends, I would go teach the seminars because they were Saturday, Sundays at that time. By the time in 2010, 2013, 2010, I was still doing the seminars. I got back from that deployment in 2010, switched over more to the business development and sponsorship stuff. Got out in 2013. I was just going to kind of work for them full time was the plan. And that lasted about a year. And then I quit. And I didn't really have a plan after that.
Why'd you quit?
Oh, dear God. Have you ever gotten to a place where you are so morally disgusted with yourself for putting up with behavior that you know you don't agree with because you're getting a paycheck and you tolerate it and you just find yourself in a place you can't anymore? That's why I quit. It's the most precise way I can describe it without starting to get into the realm of he's a very litigious man.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of money. But it's okay because I have a lot of fucking receipts. More than people could ever fathom.
So this was 2013, 2014?
2014, yeah.
The first CrossFit Games was 2012, right?
Michael, look that one up. I want to say it was before that. I finished 10th at the first CrossFit Games.
Oh, you did?
There was only 9 competitors, but it's not a big deal.
So do you know Jason Klippa well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
07.
07? He's a monster.
07.
I don't like the fact that we teach athletic people jiu-jitsu like that. He is like rolling with, not that I've ever fought a gorilla, but I feel like that's what it would be.
He's just like dense too.
Dude, he is big
moves.
and he has got a gas tank that I am not sure has a bottom. So you can't outpace the dude. Your only hope is to stay a little bit ahead of him with technique. And yeah, he's an absolute fucking nightmare.
Do you still train CrossFit style?
My training methodology, God, you would be so underwhelmed with it. I got exhausted by being around barbells because of how much I was around it. And it was a interesting double-edged sword being around all the games athletes for so long. It's dangerous because in one regard, they're so wildly inspirational in what they're able to do. But if you're only always working out with those people and you're a pure hobbyist, you end up feeling like a piece of shit because you just get destroyed.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I'm working for the company and I'm like, not that I was out of shape, but I'm like, I can't, you guys do this full time. It kind of burned me out a little bit. And then I found jiu-jitsu shortly after we moved up here and haven't touched a barbell consistently since then. And honestly, for the first couple of years after that, God, my body felt better than it had in a really long time. So it was a combination of both of those things. But I mean, at the age I'm at now, I need to get back into the gym, struggling to find motivation to do so, if I'm being honest. It's just like, fuck, why?
Do you ever get into running?
No, I hate running. I think it promotes cowardice. I know that you run your ass off.
I run a lot. This honestly, like,
I have nerve damage in my left leg so 2 things happen. I can run. It's got to be, for me, very linear. I can't do left and right. So what ends up happening is if I run enough, I'll end up rolling my ankle, which I have a really hard time controlling the stability of my ankle, or my gait is just messed up enough from the nerve damage that I'll start feeling it in my hip. It's like a little bit of, the best analogy I have is, you know when you have like a flat tire in your car and it's just like,
Yeah.
It eventually just smashes my hip.
that's the thing with running. If like your biomechanics aren't dialed,
You can build other biomechanics and then your body just destroys itself.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my knee hurts.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not knee pain. Like it's coming from the ankle or it's coming from the hip, and
Yeah.
it's actually crushed me. You know, I'm in Montana. I flew in this morning. I fly back out tonight. The fact that I can't run while I'm in Montana because of the short trip.
Did you run your ass off? Why do you do this?
I love the mental aspect of it much more than the physical.
Do you listen to music?
No, I will listen to podcasts or audiobooks in the morning because I run in the morning. So all my running is done. I will either listen to an audiobook or a podcast or nothing. I'll just think. But if I listen to an audiobook or a podcast while I'm running, I can digest that information so much more efficiently.
Yeah, I think you pull a lot of the filters down.
Oh, yeah.
I have no explanation as to how this works because I'm an idiot and not a doctor, nor do I understand how the brain works, but I know exactly what you're talking about. For whatever reason, your body, and maybe it's because you're just tolerating the effort that you're putting through, like the little force field is down a little bit. I find the same thing to be true.
Like the other day I was running and I was really into this audiobook and I blacked out for probably 3 miles. And I came to and I was like, holy crap, I'm running right now. I'm not even lying. I was like,
yeah.
I'm running right now. And I don't know where my mind's been the last 3 miles. I looked down, I'm like, how did I get here?
That's wild.
But it took a long time to get to that point.
Well, when did you get so deep into running? Because you do run your ass off.
I run a lot.
Yeah.
So when I got out of the military, I said in a YouTube video, I will never run a day in my life again. And I dedicated that whole year just getting as big and strong as
That's what I'm
possible.
talking about. Soldier.
Yeah, I was deadlifting like 3 times a week. I got my deadlift up to 700 pounds.
What?
That was my PR pull. I can't get even close to pulling that right now.
Skin tight leotard while doing this?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Skin tight. in front of probably 100 people.
Yep.
And it was a deadlift bar, and I pulled that way. I mean, that was the biggest pull of my life.
That's a heavy pull for sure. For your average, even beyond, even for just an athlete, that's a heavy pull. For a power lifter, they might laugh at us both for this conversation, but for 99.9% of people, that's more weight than they'll ever get off the ground.
Yeah, I will forever be proud of that.
You should be proud of that.
And there's no way I'm ever getting that again.
You know, imagine what it would take. Oh my God.
All I was doing was deadlifting and eating. I mean, me and my brother we'd train at night, and then we'd go to like In-N-Out, and we get 2 double doubles each. We get 2 orders of fries each, all animal style. I was 230 pounds, but when I got out of the Army, I said I'll never run a day in my life again. I didn't run for about a year, and I started getting this itch. Like, there's something like missing. I just don't feel functional anymore. I was 230 pounds. I was strong. I was big, but I didn't feel fit. So I signed up for the Austin Marathon that year. Oof. And I didn't know how to train. Didn't really train right. I ran 3 hours, 57 minutes. It was a complete struggle fest. And then I ran that same marathon the year after. I ran slower. I ran 4 hours, 15 minutes. And then I told myself, okay, I'm actually going to put an effort into this. And then I signed up for my first Ironman triathlon. I did my first Ironman in 2019. And then after that, I said I wanted to do a sub 3 hour marathon. And kind of like when I told my dad I was going to make $1 million that first year, I thought I was going to run a sub 3 hour marathon the first year I said I was going to do it. I trained my ass off. I ran a 3:24. So I missed it by 24 minutes, which is a pretty significant miss.
Yeah.
And then I trained for a whole nother year. And then I ran a 2:56. And then from there, it was just like this endurance obsession where I trained for ultras. I did Leadville 100, Rocky Raccoon 100, did the Last Man Standing race in Pineland Farms, Maine. I got my marathon from a 2:56 to a 2:48 to a 2:39.
Damn.
And I just became obsessed with running and endurance training and just, setting a new target and then going all in and obsessing to accomplish it. And I just kept doing that for years and years and years.
How'd that first run feel when you weighed 230?
Oh, I mean, I have videos of it still. And talking about biomechanics, like things just didn't move.
Your cardio must have just been non-existent too.
And the best part is we've documented all of this.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we have this video from, I believe it was my second marathon. It might have been my first marathon. But I'm giving an update to the cameraman during the marathon. I'm just standing on the side of the course being like, right now, I'm cramping, it hurts. And thinking back to then compared to now, like when I'm in a race now, seconds matter.
Yeah.
Like even grabbing water on the side of the course, you don't stop moving.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But when, looking back at those videos back then, my body just didn't know how to move. But it's incredible what the body does with time and stress and stimulus
And consistency.
Where I didn't have to necessarily make these changes to my form. The form happened on its own because my body wanted to become more efficient. So my gait changed, my body composition changed. I just got better at running over time. But
how many miles do you put in a week, do you think?
Right now, between 50 and 60 miles a week.
What kind of shoes do you wear?
So my go-to shoe right now is the Saucony Endorphin Speed or the Asics Magic Speed 4. And then if I do like a speed workout, like a track workout or a tempo workout, I'll wear a carbon base plated shoe.
the debate between like the zero drop shoes and a little bit of elevated in the heel. Again, I got exposed to the pose running method. Not that I'm an expert in it by any stretch, but I understand, leaning forward, driving from your toes and not letting your heel strike. What are your thoughts on all that?
So I've tried zero drop shoes, like ultras or zero drop shoes. And it takes some time to get used to. Mm-hmm. Like if you go from a regular running shoe that has an elevated heel to a zero drop shoe.
We should describe what we're talking about so people like these guys are in space.
Yeah, so essentially
it's a flat shoe.
It's a flat shoe where the heel is not elevated.
Yeah, which feels great to walk. So one of the first CrossFit shoes from Reebok was a zero drop shoe with the barefoot last. So your toes were spread out more. I found it to be fantastically comfortable to walk around in and exercise in, but I never did any long distance running in it.
I mean, your feet are naturally supposed to, your toes should spread and grab the ground. Ultras are shoes that have zero drop and they have wider toe boxes so your toes can spread. I think ultras are great shoes for just like everyday wear. But if you go from wearing a regular running shoe where your feet are really compressed in, your toes are compressed in, your heel's elevated, you go from something like that to an ultra, you go for a run, your calves are gonna blow up. Like you will feel that run.
Yeah.
But the way that like my biomechanics work, I naturally have a little bit of a heel strike.
Okay.
So a zero drop shoe just kind of does damage to my body.
It's just gonna go straight up your spinal column.
Yeah, and I just I've tried to make adjustments to my biomechanics, but I just have naturally a little bit of a heel strike, which hasn't caused issues or injuries or anything over time. But I always go with like a shoe that just feels better.
Okay. How do you keep yourself from getting burned out running? That's what got me, because I used to run quite a bit. Before the injury, I actually really enjoyed it. And now I enjoy the fact I don't have to run and I have a good excuse for it, even though I probably could run if I wanted to. I just got to be careful. But burnout for me is the biggest thing that I always bump up against.
I think it becomes an addiction where if I don't have my morning run, it throws my day off. Sometimes to even my detriment. If I'll wake up some mornings and I know I shouldn't run because I'm tired, I'm beat down, that first mile feels like crap, but I'm still going to finish that 8-mile run in the morning because it unlocks something in me mentally that I'm going to use for that day.
Will you back off your pace at all? I mean, keep the distance the same?
I'll back off my pace.
What's a casual running pace for you?
Like 7:30, 7 minutes, 30 seconds.
That's like third gear for you, just cruising along?
Yeah.
Whew.
Like when I ran the 2:39 marathon, my pace for 26 miles was like 6:05.
That is insane.
That was the best run of my entire life was that marathon.
How do you think it collided to be that day? What did you do differently?
My prep was dialed in. When I was in a prep like that, because I'll do a build. So it'll be like a 16-week prep where we increase training volume. I'll get to like 70, 75 miles a week. And the way my week is structured during a prep is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Those are easy runs. When I say easy, it's just you're keeping your heart rate lower.
Yeah.
And I'm running 10 to 11 miles a day.
Which most people, for clarity, would not define as easy, but moving on.
It's all relative. Wednesdays are always a speed day, so it's either on the track or a tempo run. This is higher volume but higher intensity. You're doing faster paces. You're getting your legs used to turning over. And then Saturdays is a long run, and the closer you get to a marathon, you're doing very intentionally structured training runs. So that might look like, okay, on a Saturday, 8 weeks out from a race, I have 20 miles. It might start with like a 6-mile warm-up, and then you'll do 3 miles at marathon pace, 1 mile back off. 3 miles at marathon pace, 1 mile back off. 3 miles at marathon pace. And they're structured in that way to, one, get your body used to holding your marathon pace, but also building confidence. So you finish this marathon-paced workout, 20 miles. It didn't bury you, but you're like, I can hold a 5:50 minute per mile pace for 3 miles comfortably. I can definitely do.
Dude, that is so fast. That is so fast.
But this is the power of consistency.
Yeah.
You look at my running back in 2017, 2018 compared to where it is now, that's just been years and years of being extremely consistent. Like one of my favorite quotes my running coach, Jeff Cunningham, says is, it's better to be consistently good than occasionally great.
I would agree with that.
And I think that is my greatest strength in life, in business, and all the things that I've done. I'm just very, very consistent. I'm never going to be the person that is standing on the podium or does something extremely remarkable, but I can guarantee you day in and day out, I'm going to put in the work, put in the effort, and show up. So for me, logging that 8-mile run 5 to 6 days a week, that is my commitment to being consistent.
So putting all that work up leading to the marathon, is the marathon itself fun? Or are you breaking that thing down into micro goals and you're kind of lost in the pursuit of that? Or are you actually enjoying yourself during that marathon?
There's moments where you enjoy it, but you're so dialed in.
Yeah.
Where
I think you're like a scientist at that point, just doing an operation.
It's an operation. From the moment it starts to the moment it ends, you're so aware of your body, your heart rate, your effort, your pace. You're constantly monitoring pace. If you're staying on top of fuel and hydration, electrolytes. If you feel any sort of twitch in your hamstring, that could lead to a cramp. You're trying to get ahead of it as fast as possible, getting salts in, getting electrolytes in. And then, say you get to mile 17, you realize you're ahead of pace, you're not slowing down, everything's on track. Then you can start having some fun. But I think the issue when you go for a big marathon goal like that is if you start trying to enjoy it too soon, you lose track of the awareness that you have to get you to the finish line.
I think my favorite marathon videos are people accidentally shitting their pants.
That happens.
I've seen it on YouTube.
You know what actually inspired me to do my first
Please don't say somebody shitting their
my
pants.
first Ironman. No, close. There's actually this video, I think it was an ultra last year, and it was being live streamed, and the camera comes up next to this woman who's running, and she's like, "Don't film me, I just shit myself."
I have seen this video. It's spectacular. Michael, I believe we need to play this. Do your job over there. It's worth it. Have you seen this video, Michael?
Yeah. It's incredible. But what inspired me to do my first Ironman ever is, I believe it was the year 1982. I wasn't alive then, but I watched the video, and this woman at the Ironman World Championships, her name is Julie Moss. We should watch that video next.
Okay. Not yet, Michael.
I'll explain it then.
Okay, ready? Hit it. First off, no break in stride, no emotion. Purely, I'm going to provide you objective data and move on with my day.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Was she at least close to being done?
I don't know.
Because I've never shit myself while running, but I feel like it wouldn't be super awesome to continue running covered in your own shit. Do
an ultra, and you will have all of those experiences.
Well, that's a really good selling point for me, never to do one, just for clarity. I was with a friend one time who shit in a wetsuit. Let me tell you, that was everywhere. He got hosed off afterwards. It made its way all the way up his back into his armpits.
That's horrible.
Oh, it was. I don't know what he was thinking at the time. He didn't tell us until the end of the evolution, but just it was like he had gone to a mud bath.
Well, that's like if you fart in a wetsuit, it doesn't escape until you take the wetsuit off.
You know what's the worst? You get so used. We were in the water so much. First thing you do anytime you're in a wetsuit and you get in the water is you have to piss. You got to remember the days you're wearing a dry suit because it feels the same when you get into the water, and you need to be sure that you got to check. Okay, this is a wetsuit. I can pee. Dry suit? No, don't pee.
What it's a dry suit?
Dry suits, you stay dry. The water doesn't come through. It's so you can wear operation, your op camis underneath, but it still feels like you're in the water. So if you're used to taking a piss every time you get in the water and you piss in that thing, that just goes down to your feet.
I've never worn a dry suit then.
Ever?
I don't think so, no.
I don't know why you guys would have. That would have been pretty nonsensical for the Army. But no, they're like immersion suits or Mustang survival suits.
Okay.
Yeah, they have zippers. They have a zipper for so you can take a piss. That's also another fun one. Make sure you close that zipper up before you get into the water. Seen that happen a few times. Yeah, they're great until you have that tactical error. Lapse in judgment, if you will.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, can we watch?
We can watch
It's the
whatever you want.
1982 Julie Moss Iron Man. I want to say it's. Yep.
I love how it almost immediately populated.
This is what inspired me to run my first Iron Man.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Brunt. I like boots. I was forced to wear boots for a good period of time in my life. They were not the most comfortable. Transitioning out of that role, now I get to pick and choose the boots that I wear. And I'm going to be honest, I don't wear boots often, mostly because I don't do a lot of things that require that type of footwear. So when Brunt reached out, they offered me the chance to choose a pair of boots that I wanted to receive. So I went with the Ullman. And I'm going to be honest, I have spent a good amount of time making fun of people who wear a slip-on boot, a boot without laces. And if I'm being honest, I don't know why I made fun of them, other than I had never tried a pair, so I didn't understand the convenience, the comfort, and I didn't have any, so therefore I must make fun of those that did. These things showed up straight out of the box. I wish I had them today. It's the middle of the summer. It's not really boot season here in Montana, so these are going to be on the shelf for a little bit. Wore them around for the first few days and realized I'm kind of an idiot. I get why people wear this type of boot. The convenience of getting this thing on and off, unbelievable. Comfort, straight out of the box, no break-in period. It's a fantastic set of boots. They are lightweight, water-resistant, slip and oil-resistant, heat-resistant, and electrical hazard rated. Not what I'm going to be using them for. I'm going to be using them for, honestly, when I learned how to fly the helicopter, the guy who was teaching me had a pretty dope set of boots on. So this can become aviation boots for me in the winter months, or just work boots as the temperature cools off here a little bit in Montana. If you want to, you can try them too. You can join the over 500,000 customers that Brunt has, and they let you try them on the job. This is a really cool thing. Their products have free shipping. You can try them on the job. If you don't like them, send them back. Brunt didn't just make a durable work boot. They reinvented comfort for the hardest workers out there. For a limited time, listeners are going to get $10 off at Brunt by using the code ClearedHot. All one word, all uppercase, the way that I'm looking at it at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com and use the code ClearedHot, and you're all set. Even better, Brunt lets you try all of their products on the job after you purchase. They will ask you where you heard about them. Please support the show and tell them that my show sent you. Again, bruntworkwear.com. Using the code ClearedHot, all caps, one word, and let them know that I sent you. Back to the show.
There had been a lead change among the women. 23-year-old Julie Moss, a former college student from Los Alamos,
Should be like the finish line.
and moved ahead of Pat Hines. Moss came to the Ironman as a college student, just trying to
Maybe go towards the finish a little bit. She like struggles to get across the finish. Here it is.
Oh, her body's just fully quitting on her.
So her body was just giving up on her, and she kept falling, and she had to crawl to get to the finish line.
So is this literally the electrical impulses in your body are no longer working?
Electrolyte balance is gone, muscle fatigue.
How mentally, from a mental acuity perspective, how in it is she here? Or is she loopy as well?
It's hard to say. I mean, the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii, so it's also like extremely hot and humid.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's still like mentally with it.
She just cannot get her body to perform. It's
No,
just
she's
like, get fucked.
So dehydrated that, you know, when you're like, the way your muscles contract is because of sodium concentration.
Yeah.
And when you're so depleted in electrolytes, if your muscles can't contract and move, they just don't work any longer.
So you watching a woman almost die on the finish line is what motivated you to want to do that?
I said, I want that level of commitment and pain. And I mean, my first Ironman, I had no clue what I was doing when I started training. And it was like a really hard race, super humbling, but incredible experience.
If that was your headspace seeing that, then you and I can be friends for sure.
Yeah.
Because I see things like that. I'm like, okay,
I want that.
I'm in. I don't know if I necessarily want that. I like the fact that it's that hard. I don't know if I want to look like, Stephen Hawking going for a stroll his first day out of his wheelchair, but
Well, I think it's something about like when you do something really challenging, I find that it unlocks this new part of your mind that you wouldn't be able to unlock elsewhere.
Have you heard Goggins' quote where he says most people quit at 40%?
Yeah.
I disagree with a lot of things that he says, but that one is so wildly accurate, and I actually would put the number way lower.
I would agree with that.
And then you start getting to those levels and you unlock the next floor, right? And then you find the ceiling there and then you unlock that. I think that's the value in those things for sure.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have these glass. I mean, I used to when I was younger. I had this glass ceiling of where I thought I could get to.
Oh, for sure.
And then you break that glass ceiling, and eventually you realize that nothing is unbelievable or impossible. Like 100 miles to me a long time ago felt literally impossible. And then I went and did it, and I realized, I can actually do this. Did you follow any of the race that we hosted about 2 weeks ago on our ranch?
No.
So it ended up going viral, but we hosted this race on our ranch 2 weeks ago. It was called the Go One More Ultra.
I did see some of this. Okay. I didn't know that was at your ranch.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw some of the footage. I just didn't know it was directly associated with you.
So the 4.2 mile loop, it restarted every hour on the hour. We started with 120 runners, and 2 runners battled it out. They ended up going 235 miles over 56 hours.
So you could do the loop, and then you had the rest of the hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for example, if you finished the loop in 40 minutes, you had 20 minutes to rest. So there were 3 runners left up until, I believe, hour 30. And then that third one dropped. And then 2 runners battled it out from hour 30 to hour 56. And the only reason the race stopped is because this massive storm came into Central Texas, and we had to call the race. We had to pause it because it got so out of control.
How did you determine the winner?
So, I mean, this storm was a storm from God, I'm telling you. Like, it came out of nowhere, and I thought there was a tornado coming in. It was pure chaos. We were rushing everyone up to the ranch house. The fields flooded. The course flooded. So I got both these runners and their crews in this ranch house. Everyone's soaked. And one of the runner, him and his family were from Costa Rica. The other runner, him and his family were from Germany. And I'm sitting in the middle between these 2 guys who, for the last 26 hours, were at war with each other, wanted to kill each other. And now I have them together. They're both laying on a couch. I said, here's what we can do. We can we pause the race, obviously. We can wait out in the storm, go back out and restart it, which is kind of unfair because now you've rested. Mm-hmm. Or we can call it a tie, and both of you guys are the winner for this year. So they decided they were going to share the win for this year. But 235 miles. They were both 21 years old, 56 hours of running.
How long does it take to recover from that?
I mean, weeks. Fully recover?
Yeah.
Weeks, maybe months.
That's insane. Yeah, because you're going to be at a deficit. Like, your cardio system's not going to work the way it's supposed to. Your endocrine system,
your hormones are wrecked.
God, human beings are capable of some amazing things.
What was so incredible was you watch these guys. They'd come in towards the end, like 54 minutes, 55 minutes per loop. They'd have a few minutes to rest, and they'd line back up hour after hour after hour. I was like, this is never going to end. This race is literally never going to end because they started getting stronger towards the end of it.
Oh, that's
They
wild.
started running faster loops. And it was
Well, it
almost
would
a
have ended.
joke.
Somebody would have died eventually, so it definitely would have ended.
It would have ended eventually.
Yeah.
But one of the runners, Kendall, so there's Kendall and Kim, these 2 21-year-old guys, and Kendall, him and his crew had this sleep strategy where every time he'd come in from a loop, his crew would pull an air mattress up to the start-finish line. He would come in, not miss a step. He'd face plant, head down into the air mattress. Someone would tie a blindfold over him. Someone would stick earplugs in his ear, and he'd pass out for 2 to 3 minutes. They wake him up, they'd shove food in his mouth, and send him back out. It was the craziest thing to watch and experience.
Are you going to do this again?
Every year.
Oh, Michael. I'm starting a new series called Andy Tries to Kill Michael.
Well, I'll save a spot for you.
I feel like...
Can't wait.
Do you run it all, Michael?
No. only for
You have, it sounds like, about 11 months.
Yeah,
perfect.
you got about a
I'll
year to
definitely
train.
start training.
You're going next year.
It was super hot the weekend we did it too.
Oh, God, of course it was.
So, I mean, middle of the day, it was 96, 97, 98 degrees. Chad Wright was out there.
Chad is so hilarious.
Truett Haynes, Cam's son, was out there.
Was he wearing jeans?
He didn't wear jeans. No,
What a puss.
he didn't wear jeans.
Oh, it's only for street marathons? That guy is an absolute machine.
I mean, he just keeps getting faster and faster.
I mean, again, the consistency, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the jeans thing is ridiculous, but I also deeply appreciate it.
He's an athlete for sure.
He is. Well, his genetics. His dad's a little bit of an athlete as well, too. What are you going to do as you get older? I mean, speaking of, Cam is, the things that Cam is able to do at his age are unbelievable, but age is a real thing. It's coming for us all. How do you think he'll modulate your physical goals as you get older? Because you're only in your 30s, right?
I'll be 35 this summer.
Yeah.
It'll always be a balance of running and strength training. I think there's a lot of power and importance of each. But over time, like I'll definitely pull back running volume. Even like 50 to 60 miles a week, that has wear and tear.
Oh, yeah.
On not only the body, but the mind, especially, you mentioned earlier training with these professional athletes. Like I try to keep up with some professional athletes sometimes, and
It'll destroy your ego.
it destroys your ego. And I'll come home and after doing it for a few days and tell my wife, I'm like, man, I'm wiped. These guys are just running circles around me. She's like, yeah, because it's not your full-time job. You're running a business and you have a 3-year-old and 1-year-old.
Yeah. You have to be careful with that. You got to keep that in check.
Yeah.
The way you talk to yourself, or the comparative nature that we all have. Like, this guy's just destroying me. What business do I have doing the same thing that they're doing? You got to be cautious with that one.
I think there's a lot of power in also just having the awareness and recognizing that there's certain things you might want to do in certain seasons and chapters of your life, but does that take away from your responsibilities?
Yeah.
Because I know, like, when I go into a big fitness prep, my mind is very focused on that prep, and it pulls me away, not intentionally, but it pulls me away from being the present father and husband and business leader that I want to be. So when I go into one of these challenges moving forward, if and when, I have to be aware that, like, there's going to be collateral damage and consequences that come with that level of focus.
Do you have any desire to any other endurance? I guess the closest thing might be an alpinism type thing, like climbing mountains or stuff like that. Do you have any desire to do that type of endurance activity? Not like crazy technical like ice climbing, but just, there's some races out there that have crazy vertical gains. Does that stuff interest you at all, or are you just...
There's the Leadville 100 mountain bike race.
Yeah.
That's something I've always been interested in. I would like to.
Do you own a mountain bike?
I don't own a mountain bike.
Perfect. You should sign up.
I want that. I like being the new guy in something.
For sure.
I love
it's super exciting. Learning new things, I truly think, keeps you young.
For sure, yeah. Like I was just talking to Chad at the race, and he's training for this 1,000-mile canoe or kayak race right now.
God damn it.
And it's like, it's finding this thing outside of your area of genius that you're so comfortable with.
Yeah.
To humble yourself and learn. So the mountain bike race has always been something that's been interesting to me. Outside of that, I've always wanted to find time to get into hunting. I just haven't done it yet. And I think part of the way that Cam describes, like, backcountry elk hunting has always had an appeal to me.
Yeah.
So maybe at some point in chapter of my life, like, that will be of a challenge.
I dabble in it, by no stretch an expert, but it's a time suck as well. That's going to be another one of those tranches that you're going to have to figure out how much time you want to dedicate to it.
Right.
And again, I can't speak for Cam, but I've had enough conversations with him and been around him enough that, he takes it as seriously as he does because he wants to be the most ethical hunter that he can be. As the hunters that I have the most respect for all feel the same way. God, I've wounded an animal before and not found it. It's the worst feeling in the world. And if that happens because you didn't put the prep time in, whether it's behind the bow or on the cardiovascular system or the muscular system that's supporting all of that endeavor, dude, it doesn't feel great. So you have to dedicate an immense amount of time to it.
I'm not a dabbler.
Yeah, I'm not either, and that's my problem.
That's why I haven't pursued that yet.
Yeah, it would definitely, knowing what I know about it, it would bump up against the time you allot to some other things, especially seasonally, because really, especially if you're going to go for Rocky Mountain species, you'll have 60 to 90 days a year where you can get that in. Mm-hmm. That's it.
I found over time that I am most successful and fulfilled when I have very few things on my plate, which doesn't mean I'm any less busy, but I'm all in on those things. Like right now it is my family, my business. Those are like my two areas of focus in my life right now. I'm not dabbling or trying these new things outside of that. That's why I'm not in a fitness prep right now, is because it's family and business. But I've really learned just like the power of refined focus.
How do you fuel yourself for those endurance races? Because your degree is in nutrition, right?
Yeah. You mean like for the marathon and the ultra are very different.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for that specifically, those type of endurance event, and then what's your baseline strategy just for fuel?
So for an ultra, for example, I'll start there. For an ultra, it's so different, unique, because you're trying to get a certain amount of carbohydrates, calories, and electrolytes in per hour. So if we look at like a 56-hour race, you might be trying to get 500 calories in per hour.
But it has to be a smaller volume, right? And then you're not wanting to really fill your stomach up. Like, probably shouldn't be eating a Subway footlong mid-ultra.
Sometimes that's what sounds the best. I mean, I'll always start an ultra with gels, bars, and like liquid calories, powders. But eventually, your gut, your mind, and your mouth want something different. So like during ultras, I've had quesadillas, pizza, sandwiches, ramen noodles, whatever like really you can get down at a certain point. Like those guys that were running 56 hours, they just had to keep getting calories in. So an ultra that deep and that long becomes just as much an eating challenge as it is a running challenge.
Does your appetite wane as it starts going farther into it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But
so you're
also,
almost forcing it down?
Well, your stomach starts churning too.
Ooh.
Like some people have a stomach of steel where 56 hours into a race, like those two guys, their stomachs were completely fine.
They're just crushing calories?
No issue. But for me, if I'm 20 hours into a race, I mean, my stomach's killing me trying to get calories and food in and still running. So like that is a completely different beast, the ultra. If you look at an ultra marathon trail race, the checkpoints, there's chips, there's Coca-Cola, there's apples, bananas, Cheetos, quesadillas, burger, like anything. You just want to give runners options that deep. With a marathon, for me, the nutrition is extremely dialed in and specific.
Leading up to, you mean? Or even during?
Leading up to and during. So like the way I'll approach a marathon typically is, say for example, the race starts at 7 a.m. At 4:30 a.m. I'll have some powdered carbohydrates and electrolytes. We have a product called GUM Sport. I'll take that. Additional electrolyte powder. I'll try to get like 2,000 milligrams of sodium in that early in before the race. I'll also do like a bagel with honey, peanut butter, and banana. So I'm trying to get maybe 150 grams of carbs in, 2,000 milligrams of sodium, 3 hours before the race starts. And then an hour before the race starts, I'll get maybe a bar with 30 to 50 grams of carbohydrates in. I'll be sipping on electrolytes. And then when I line up for a marathon, my mindset is it's so dialed. Where I'm standing at the starting line, and I treat it like that's like my whole life depends on that. Mm-hmm. Where you'll see people to the left and right of you, they're laughing, they're joking. I'm like, shut up, like don't talk to me right now. I'm looking straight ahead. I'm just thinking about every mile for the next 26.2, which is one of my favorite feelings in the entire world. Like when you've prepped 16 weeks, you've tapered, you've carved up, you line up for the race, knowing you're about to throw down, that is one of the most exhilarating moments of my life. And then when the race starts, I'm doing a gel which has about 24 grams of carbohydrates total every 3 to 4 miles. And then on course, I'm grabbing the electrolytes and just drinking electrolytes at every checkpoint. Because I don't want to cramp and I want to stay fueled.
Yeah.
And then that's my approach for a marathon. When it comes to like my everyday diet, I was actually thinking about this when I was traveling today. If someone would ask me the question, what do you like more? Do you like, if you had to choose training or eating healthy and you couldn't choose both, what would you choose? I think I would choose eating healthy over training. Like I love the way I feel when my diet is dialed in and I'm staying fueled. So I'm staying on top of protein every day. I'm having about 200 grams of protein a day. Carbs, I'm keeping very high, 500-ish grams of carbs.
That's based off your physical activity, though, right?
Correct.
Yeah, sedentary person listening to this, I wouldn't start at 500 grams of carbs.
No. If I wasn't training, if I wasn't running every day, I wouldn't need 500 grams of carbs. But my body and my mind also feels better on higher carbs and lower carbs.
Yeah.
And then fat is pretty moderate, maybe 80 to 90 grams of fat a day. But my diet is always very dialed in. Not to say that I don't go out and enjoy myself. Like if we go out to dinner, I'm going to have pizza with the family and a burger. And
well, you have years of consistency that allows you to bounce up against the side and come back in.
Yeah.
Most people, and sometimes I probably fall into this category too, they have their consistency is in the other side, so they flirt with being healthy and then they go right back to what they were doing. Two very different end states.
Yeah, diet is my, like I said, my consistency is one of my strengths.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to diet. Even when I'm traveling, I can keep it very well dialed in.
What are your non-negotiables, things you just won't touch in your diet? Is there anything that you're just hard stop avoid?
Soda. That's like one thing that I won't drink.
Do you care too much about, the processed versus natural carbohydrate? I mean, not optimal, but is it in a pinch? At that point, are you just controlling your macro intake?
I'm just controlling energy intake. Like most of my food comes from natural, whole, unprocessed sources. But if I need calories to train, I'm gonna get carbs in wherever I need to get the carbs in from.
That's fair. Yeah, I think sometimes people set themselves up in a prison that they don't have enough room. They're so restrictive. I cannot have this, that, or the other, and then life happens, and they could smartly modulate with something slightly outside of their box, but instead it just explodes the whole ecosystem that they have. I think everything in moderation, to include moderation sometimes, is a good strategy.
I agree with that. I think one of the worst things our bodies can be abundant in is stress, and we create our own stress around food. Oftentimes, there are people who are hyper fixated on fearing certain foods, and that stress around food in itself. I mean, I've been there before in chapters and seasons of my life where I'm trying to restrict certain things, especially when I'm in a fitness prep. I'm trying to get leaner for a race, for example. Mm-hmm. My relationship with food is much different than it is on a normal, consistent basis. To
get leaner for a race, are you doing that just so you are lighter and you're just carrying less weight?
Yep.
What do you avoid when you're trying to get leaner?
I might not like if we're going to dinner, mm-hmm. I might make just different food choices when we go to dinner. In terms of, instead of ordering a burger and fries, I'll order like a chicken breast and get rice on the side.
So a sad dinner instead of a happy dinner.
Yeah. Or instead of like making ribeyes at night, I might make some strips with the family.
That is the best cut of steak.
The ribeye?
It's so good.
I spent the last year of my life learning how to perfect my steak, and I think I've got it pretty dialed in.
The ribeye just stares at you with the marbling and says, you want to eat every bite of this. Don't worry about the fat content. It might be equal to the protein, maybe more. It's hard to say.
Do you cook a lot of steaks?
I do.
We cook a lot of steaks.
What's your, you said you've got it dialed.
Yep.
What do we go with here? First off, seasoning.
So I use a seasoning by Hardcore Carnivore.
Okay.
Have you heard of the brand?
No.
So it's a Hardcore Carnivore, and it's called Hardcore Carnivore Black.
Okay.
And it is black seasoning. It's got activated charcoal in it, but it creates a really good char.
Okay.
The line was created by this woman who lives in Austin. She's from Australia. Her name is Jess Pryles. It's my favorite seasonings, Hardcore Carnivore.
Okay.
So I cover this thing in Hardcore Carnivore Black, so your whole steak looks black. And then I'll either put it just on a a charcoal Weber grill or a green egg.
Yep.
And I will add some smoking chips in there. And I'll get, I think, like 400. And then I will let it get to about 115, 120 internal temp. And then I'll let that flame just get huge, and I'll just char the crap out of both sides.
Sear it real quick. Yep.
Sear it. And then let it sit. Sometimes I put some compound butter over top of it, slice it up. But the charcoal adds such a good smoke flavor. I love charcoal.
Interesting. Okay.
How do you do yours?
Salt and pepper. Let it raise to room temperature, just because I heard Gordon Ramsay talk about that one time. I have no idea what it actually does, but I've heard he's a pretty good chef. Salt and pepper, pretty straightforward. Some version, I have a Traeger, or they're basically the same thing. It's a, what would a Traeger be considered? Is that it's not a grill, it's
a pellet smoker.
There you go. So pellet smoker. I'll usually get it to 475 and throw it on there. And I 2 to 3 minutes per side, and I'll just press on it with the backside of a fork just to see how far it'll indent. Pull it off of there. Sear, usually on a countertop with some butter, both sides, the same thing. Let it rest for about as long as I cooked it between those two things. It's pretty good to go.
Where do you eat your steaks from? Anywhere specific?
Most of the time, it's elk, if I have any left over. It's one of the best things about hunting. Difference is, though, you'll have to totally change your game when it comes to cooking wild game. When you get into hunting, way less fatty content. You will fuck up that elk steak.
Elk's lean. Elk's lean.
So in medium rare at most for elk would be my suggestion. Like a deep, deep red. Anything beyond that, it still tastes pretty good. You're like, but this is a little bit like chewing on your shoe.
Yeah.
So you have to totally change it up for that. Other than that, man, one of the best steaks. So we just flew out to the Galt Ranch, which is a ranch in Montana, just to check out their facility, and they sent us back with Wagyu beef. So I've been eating some of those.
Wagyu is like next level.
Dude. I mean, I can't even fathom the fat content in this thing, but it is like melted butter in your mouth.
Have you ever bought steaks from Snake River Farms?
Yes, which is in Idaho. I'm an idiot and didn't realize that was named after an actual Snake River in Idaho. That's how dumb I am.
They have great steaks.
They do.
They're expensive.
They sell them here locally in the grocery stores as well.
They do?
Yeah, in a couple. Not all of them, but in a couple. They're tasty. You get what you pay for that one. I'm willing to spend good money on a steak.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Especially if it's going to be the centerpiece of the meal. Like, we're going to go to town.
Yeah.
The Snake River Farm tri-tip. Have you ever gotten that one?
No.
They sell those. Those are definitely on the pellet grill. Maybe even start by searing the outside, then lowering the temperature and let it smoke out a little bit. Oh my God. And just slicing that thing open. It's pretty good.
I think the best thing that Snake River Farms sells on their site is the double bone-in pork chop. If you've never had that, they're probably 2 inches thick.
Okay.
And they are, me and my wife crush their double bone-in pork chops. I think the pork chop is one of the most underrated pieces of meat if you cook it right.
I agree. We had pork chops for dinner last night. Same thing on the grill. That one I like the, it's probably not healthy for you at all, but it's the Traeger seasoning. It comes in the green can. It's the apple and honey one, like a light dusting. I'm almost positive it's pure sugar, so it's a light dusting. You go as crazy as you want. Holy cow, it's good.
I put like a brown sugar paprika rub on our pork chops.
Yes.
You get like sweetened pork, just like
it goes
well together.
It goes well together for sure. Indeed. What time is your flight again?
6, I believe.
Okay, we got time. Switching back to business, even though I could talk about food all day long, but I'll just end up getting hungry. What's the biggest lesson you think you've learned in your entrepreneurial career?
Biggest lesson.
Or how about biggest mistake? Do you have a favorite mistake that you like to keep making?
I'd say one of the biggest realizations is the power of clearly defined and communicated vision. And as like the founder and CEO of the business, in the beginning when we had a small team, it was really easy for me to clearly communicate the vision of where we were heading and what we were focused on, because there's a few people sitting at the table and I'd say,
Yep.
Here's the focus, the mission for the week. Let's go do it. As the team got larger and more departments started to build, and I wasn't able to touch or guide and direct every part of the business, I realized the negative consequences that occur when there's not a very clearly defined vision. And it actually all came to me when I was reading this book. It's called BE 2.0, Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0 by Jim Collins. And he describes that a business vision is made up of three components. And this completely changed my business, completely. So the three components are core values, purpose, and goals. Core values and purpose don't change more than once in every 100 years. And core values aren't necessarily integrity, service, honesty. It's like something that's very unique and specific to your business. Like one of our core values is that we will not sacrifice growth for profitability. And then when you have a clear defined core values and purpose, you write that down, you share that with the team, and then your goals are 10 to 25 year targets. So we have like 5 10-year target goals right now that we're working towards. That is our vision. And our whole team has that written down in front of them all the time, so that when they go build out strategy and tactics for their department, they know what to say yes to and what to say no to, because it's very easy to look at the core values. Okay, does this match the core values? Does this match our purpose? Does this match our goals? If it is aligned with all three of those things, it's a yes. If it's a no to any of those things, it's an absolute no. So having a very clear defined vision, writing that down, communicating that, and sharing that with the team has been a game changer for us.
Did you notice it instantaneously after implementing that?
Instantaneously.
Yeah.
Instantaneously.
How'd you find that book?
I've been a fan of Jim Collins for a long time. He wrote Good to Great.
Yeah.
And
Was stumbling on that one relatively random though, or did somebody suggest it to you?
no, completely random.
Wow.
Another book. I believe that certain books have come into my life at the right periods of time and have helped me make some of the most important decisions in my life. The book, The Courage to Be Disliked, is one of those. Incredible book. But when I understood, I always knew vision was important, but I didn't clearly define it and share it up until about a year ago. That allowed us to hyper focus on exactly what we were going after. Because before, it was all up in my head, my vision. I thought I was communicating it to everyone. And then I'd get frustrated and mad that, why is this department creating this strategy or going after this goal when it has nothing to do with what I want to do? But no one knew what I wanted to do because it was all up in my head. So until I clearly defined that and wrote it down, game changer overnight.
Yeah, it is crazy how you can come across somebody's work like that, and it can kind of crack the mirror that you've been looking into, and then you can rebuild it a little matrixy. The mirror rebuilds itself and can shift the optic on the way that you look at stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I also had to learn the hard way that just having the right people on the team, I already brought this up, but the right people in the right seats is going to facilitate your success. I spent time with the founder of Gymshark a few years ago, Ben Francis, and one of the things he told me, because he came to just tour our HQ, it was probably 3 years ago, and I remember him saying, "Oh, this reminds me of Gymshark in the early days," and Gymshark's massive now. But he said there's 3 things that lead to the success of a business. It's the product, the brand, and then the people. And if you get any one of those 3 things wrong, it's going to limit your ability to succeed.
Yeah.
And there have been times where I've had just one wrong person on the team in the wrong seat.
That's all it takes.
And it's all it takes to completely disrupt the culture, the camaraderie, the team effort. It is a cancer. And if you don't remove that cancer, it will erode everything you're trying to build.
So tough decisions to make. People are people. They have lives. They have people that they're caring for. That's a tough one.
It's really tough.
Yeah. Letting people go. People who have never had the experience of firing somebody. I'm not going to say you're missing out on something in life, but when you do have that experience, but you're probably going to be shocked at how difficult it is. If you're a legit human being and you have empathy and care about people, it is way harder than you think to let somebody go.
That's why I love running so much, is because
the person getting let go is back there and you're just like, I'm out of here.
yes. But if there's something in the business that's bothering me,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to avoid it, it will take over my entire run, and it will keep coming back run after run, and I'll finish a run thinking my brain is just, that's all I can think about. It's here for a reason. Yep. I got to either solve it or address it. And until I solve it or address it, it will keep occupying my mind.
Isn't it amazing, though, once you do address it or solve it, how your mind is just poof.
Yes.
Free and clear to think about other things.
Yes.
I have solved, I don't want to say problems. I have found the answer to the most complicated questions in my life when I'm doing physical things. And it'll just... And not that, I don't know, maybe behind the curtain, my mind is thinking about it, but I'll have the most creative, out-of-the-box solutions to things that may have been bothering me when I'm being physically active, and they seem insurmountable when I'm not. If you're just sitting there, low heart rate, pissed at yourself, can't figure out what the solution is, it's amazing how it'll sort itself if you just create the right environment for it.
Do you have something intentionally built into your day or your life to create that moment of solitude and clarity?
I try to choke Michael unconscious as often as possible. There's actually a large level of truth to that. I let go when he taps, though.
Does that actually happen?
Oh, yeah. I've never choked you out.
I mean, I tap every time.
I know.
'Cause I don't want to get choked out.
Should I surprise you one of these times and just hold on?
I would never roll with you again.
Jiu-jitsu has been an interesting one. I think what I love about it is that it can't be solved. So it's just a puzzle that is constantly reorienting itself. And if you're not really in that moment trying to solve what's being presented to you, you're just going to get smashed. And they might get you with technique or cardio or strength or all of those things. But because if your mind is off elsewhere trying to solve problems, I find it impossible to be able to do both. But the number of problems I have solved without thinking about them because I'm focusing on the competitive match or role that I'm having is pretty unbelievable, actually. Because you go about 5 minutes on, 1 minute off, 5 minutes on, 1 minute off. The number of times I've sat in that 60 seconds and said, oh, I'm going to try this.
Right.
And I don't know where it came from, but I think it has something to do with letting your brain operate in an unconstrained environment while all of your attention is faced somewhere else. I don't know how it works, but there's something in there. The gray matter is doing something.
Do you have a moment in your day that is the same every day?
I wake up every day.
But do you do something after you wake up that kind of sparks
No.
deep thought?
I wouldn't describe spark in my morning in the same sentence. It's more of like a old man slowly getting out of bed. I do have it's not a structured morning routine, but the first thing I do is I drink water. I mean, I kind of go through, I put in creatine, I take some fiber, I do some electrolytes, and then what the hell is that other one I'm taking? Collagen peptides. It takes me about 10 minutes to get everything together and some vitamin D and spend at least 10 minutes kind of quietly just kind of consuming that and putting that stuff all together. And I'm not really solving any problems then, I don't think, but it's consistently the way I start my day. My days vary. Some day I'm doing stuff like this, podcasting. Other days I'll go out and I'll fly a helicopter. Most days I'm doing jiu-jitsu. It's kind of all over the place.
When you're flying, is your mind thinking?
Generally, I'm just like, don't die, don't die, don't die.
What do you do if there's a malfunction in the helicopter?
Just hope for the best.
You just ride it down?
It depends on the type of malfunction. So the helicopter I'm flying, I did a 5-day type rating course. I got certified in the helicopter, and it's all about contingencies and what ifs, of which there are a lot. You could have a hydraulic issue. You could have an electronic issue. You could have an issue with the tail rotor. You could have an issue with the main rotor. You could, all sorts of things. You could have a fire, and each one of those kind of has a little bit of branch diagram that you go down. They don't just fall out of, well, I'm just going to say they don't just fall out of the sky. We could pull up a recent video from New York that would prove me to be a liar, but that's because the main rotor blade departed from the aircraft and it kind of fell out of the ground. Assuming that doesn't happen, you can probably get it onto the ground pretty safely. Hopefully you'll walk away from it. You might hurt yourself, but you can probably get it to the ground.
Do you use yours for transportation or is it more leisure?
Completely and utterly fucking off.
Just to escape.
just to explore Montana. It is an amazing tool for where we live up here. The ability to say, I wonder what's on top of that mountain. Let's go check it out.
Do you ever see wildlife?
Yes, I'm not very good at it though. It's just like hunting. For me, the first few days of hunting season, I'm not that great at picking out animals because you have to get used to the silhouette and the color and the shape. And oftentimes a week into it, you're like, boom, there's animals all over the place. The first few days, you're like, there's no animals out here. There's never been an animal here. We're never going to find anything. They're literally standing right out there in front of you. I haven't figured out exactly yet the silhouette and the size of what I should be looking for. I've seen elk a few times. I saw a bighorn sheep one time. Most of those were random happenstance.
Never a bear, though.
I have seen a bear one time when I was learning to get my license, only because there was this massive black object in the middle of a green field, which I thought was a log until we got closer, and then the log moved. That was it.
Man.
Yeah. So I don't have enough reps yet picking them out, but it is definitely something. Also, in Montana, you have to have a 24-hour period between if you fly a helicopter or use a drone, you have to have a 24-hour stand down time because they don't want you to, hey, I have a helicopter, let's go chase an elk herd, land a helicopter and chase them down. So you can use those things. I'm actually not really sure on drones. Specifically talking about helicopters, if you fly in somewhere, you need to take 24 hours off. But you could go largely locate a geographic area where they might be, and I'll definitely be doing that come hunting season.
Is the helicopter a more recent thing?
Yes. I've only been flying them for about a year. I did a bunch of fixed-wing flying when I was working for CrossFit. I was actually, one of the jobs I had is I was the pilot for the company, so I have a couple of thousand hours of fixed-wing time, but only a couple hundred hours of helicopter time.
That's cool.
It's been fun. It's been more fun than I thought it would be.
I mean, I could see how, like, if you're going to do it, Montana is the place to do it.
I mean, what do you want to do? Do you want to fly around crazy mountains? Do you want to go around water by Flathead? Do you want to cruise around these crazy valleys with river? It's awesome.
Yeah, even as I was flying in, typically I don't even lift the shade of the plane.
It's worth lifting.
You're not looking at, yeah. You're looking out in mountains and rivers and lakes. I mean, it's beautiful.
It is. I don't know why I would ever leave here, to be honest. There would have to be an incredibly compelling reason, and I can't think of one. Even if it was a substantial amount of money, I think I would say no.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas, we don't have nearly the diverse landscape.
All I need to avoid Texas is Google and the temperature during the middle of the day in the summertime.
Have you ever been to South Texas, like Big Bend National Park? Yeah. Big Bend is beautiful.
Much of Texas is beautiful.
Yeah.
I love Texas, but not in the months between like May and October.
They're just cooking. But run during those months, you'll get lean.
Or die.
Survival of the fittest.
I suppose.
Nutrition.
Dude, tell me about your book.
So it comes out June 24th.
Which day is today anyway? Okay, cool.
And
so 2 weeks essentially.
About 2 weeks from today.
Actually, it is exactly 2 weeks from today. 14 days.
I spent the last 2 years, working on this project. And it's all about how Go One More is mine and my brand's mission. It's tattooed on me. It's now tattooed on thousands of other people across the world. And I founded Go One More because I was on one of my first training runs for one of my first marathons. I was living in Austin. This was back to when I was 230 pounds. And I had an 18-mile training run scheduled for that day. And I'm 10 miles into this run down in Town Lake Loop, which is the loop that goes around the river, downtown Austin. I'm 10 miles into this 18-mile run, and I decided to quit. Legs hurt. I was tired. I started walking back to our house that we were renting at the time. And I'm thinking, as I'm walking back, if I quit on this run, even though no one will know, what does this say about my character? What I quit on my family? What I quit on my business? But my business was just getting off the ground at that point. So I decided to turn back around. I go back to the trail. I finish the run. I run 18 miles. I run one additional mile. I run 19. Didn't think much of it. Came back home, wrote one more on the bill of my hat. Again, not thinking much of it. Took a photo of it and posted it on Instagram. And the response was wild. All these people started writing one more under the bill of their hat, taking a photo of it, sending it to me, posting it. So I thought, I must have struck a nerve in a lot of people here. So that eventually turned into Go One More, and it became our tagline, our mission, our purpose. And in the beginning, Go One More was just an action. I viewed it as just doing more of anything. If you spend 1 more hour in the gym, you run 1 more mile, 1 more hour in your business, it's going to facilitate the results that you want. But then as my life grew and developed and evolved, where I got married, had kids, responsibilities increased, business grew, I learned that just by doing more of anything doesn't necessarily provide the results you need or want, but it's doing more of the right things at the right time for the right reasons and having the clarity to make those decisions. So over the years, Go One More has evolved from just being an action to actually being an outcome. And this book is the story of that realization of it comes down to having the clarity to make intentional life-changing choices. I've just realized over time that every day we're faced with many decisions. Some of those very meaningful, some of those insignificant, but there are certain decisions that we have to make over the course of our lifetime that can shift the trajectory of our entire life. Like writing 1 more on the bill of my hat changed my life. Deciding to run my first marathon changed my life. But I made those decisions with a lot of clarity and intentionality. So I've applied all of this intentionality to all these decisions I made over the last couple of years, and I believe that's what's led me to where I'm at right now. So it's much more than the action of doing, it's the outcome that we're trying to achieve. That's what this book's all about.
Did you enjoy writing it?
No.
Was it a hard process for you?
Yeah, I rewrote it 3 times.
Like soup to nuts three times? Or you pulled like a framework out or a skeleton and built on it 3 times?
I laid out the skeleton, and then I pretty much rewrote the whole thing. And then the 3rd time, it was like a revision to that second revision. It was a painful process. And for majority of the whole process, I hated it until the end where I ended up loving the result.
Did you work with a publisher or self-publish?
I worked with the publisher, Ben Bella Books.
Okay.
And I mean, it was an interesting experience because you have to do a lot of reflection into what you're writing. And that also provides a lot of clarity into what you're trying to really clearly define and figure out and share. But my life got shooken up when we had our first child, Charlie, who's going to be 3 this summer. Because up until that point, and I didn't realize it then, but I could be and I was very selfish with my goals and my time. And then when our daughter was born, I had to learn the hard way that like my routines don't just work for me anymore. It's my responsibilities first. And you know, they tell you when you have kids, it changes your life. I mean, it changes your life.
Oh, yeah.
Every part of your life changes.
If your wife doesn't want to have 1 more kid, you should show her that tagline and be like, you should live this. Just go 1 more.
She lets me hear it. she's told me that.
Yeah. Yeah, kids will change your life in ways that you would never expect. It's easy to be selfish when it's either just you or you with a partner. You have less to worry about. You have less to think about.
Right.
Yeah, and then something arrives that you have no vocabulary ability to describe how much you love it and what you would do for it. And yeah, changes your view on the world. Hopefully.
I struggled a lot initially too, because up until that point, my entire life after the military, I mean, my whole identity, everything was around work and building the business.
Yeah.
And then when my daughter was born, I wanted to be equally involved and present and apply that same intentionality being a parent. And I didn't think I could do both at that time. So I was really stuck in the middle of like, which one do I choose? And I've learned over time that you can do both. It might look a little different than you were previously doing, but you have the ability to.
Kids they have seasons though as well. I mean, super young, completely and utterly dependent upon their parents for survival. You're going to get to a place where, and this sucks as a parent, their friends and social circles have as much influence on their life as you do. And hanging out with dad might seem kind of cool, but hanging out with their friends is really cool. And it'll just change.
Yeah, we're not there yet. So I don't even know what that feels like.
It sucks. Let me tell you. Spoiler alert. When you realize, actually, it doesn't suck, because I just try to view it through the lens of, this is the natural progression. This is the way it's supposed to be. I don't want to raise kids that are so insulated and don't have friends and don't see the outside world. I want them to have rich and meaningful experiences. And the only way they're going to do that is by having rich and meaningful experiences. I'm going to pay attention to the best of my ability to who their social circle is and, try to put some barriers up so they don't kill themselves accidentally. But you have to let them spread their wings. Like, I don't want to be the parent out there with a pair of scissors clipping the wings. I want to, like, hey, if you're going to go fly, jump off the small cliff first.
Right.
Run down the hill first to see if you can glide.
Yeah. I was even thinking about, because my daughter now is becoming more social and she's going to start going to school this fall. And the other night I was just thinking about her getting picked on or being in a situation where she's upset or feels bullied.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
And I know it's going to happen, but I was like, it's just like, that hurts me as much as I know it's hurting them. Just that thought. It's
well, the reality is worse than the thought. I'll load you up with that one. And I may or may not have knocked on people's doors. Just leave it at that.
Yeah, do what you got to do.
I mean, that's my daughter. It's my little girl. Well, for me, I just can't stand bullies either. I despise people who will force their will into those that are unable to protect themselves. It just drives me nuts. Layer that on top of it being one of your kids. Yeah, just remind yourself you're a better parent out of prison than in prison.
Yeah, I'd rather be out.
100%. But yeah, doesn't mean you can't think about it. Fantasize about it on your run, perhaps.
Oh, my.
Maybe change your run path so it's by their house every morning and they can see that you're there seeing them. I don't know.
Yeah,
Hard to say.
Here's this guy shirtless with
psychopath
2-inch running shorts.
Totally. Oh, I mean, I'd go 1.5 inches maximum, just putting the miles in. Meanwhile, their father's maybe, living life in a recliner, a little bit more wax shaped than it's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm waiting for you.
I'm here. I see you.
Hey, I see you. You see me. I see you seeing me. Fucking get your shit straight.
Yeah. I dig that.
Yeah. What have you changed your YouTube strategy from when you like? How do you see YouTube now? Because you were a way earlier adopter than me. I wasn't paying attention to it until a few years ago. Have you changed? Do you view it as a different ecosystem, and have you changed the way that you interface with it?
Yeah, I love long form content. Even when everything was going short form, that wasn't attractive to me. Like, I love the podcast space. I love long form YouTube videos. Sometimes we'll put out 1 hour YouTube videos that are just vlogs, not even documentaries. So our approach to YouTube is going back to vision. Like, every video should fit the core values, the purpose, and the goals. And all of my social media is to build the BPN brand, support the team and the mission. But also, I want to position myself as a role model for younger men. I mean, most of my audience is men, younger men, guys in the same season and chapter of life as me, and showing people that, like, you can prioritize health and fitness, you can prioritize building and leading a team in a business, and also being a present father and husband. And I was just listening to this podcast with Simon Sinek earlier this week. And for me, like, building a social media platform was never about being like the hero or putting myself in the face of an audience. Because I started the business first. I started doing social media because the business needed to grow.
Yep.
Which is oftentimes the opposite way around. So I want my brand, I want Go On More to have legacy and outlive me. But I also know that people want to follow a person, not necessarily just a brand.
Yeah.
So I have to be the person who guides Go On More and the brand and my mission in this chapter and season of life to get it to where I want it to be. But my goal is eventually that I'm irrelevant and forgotten about, and my brands outlive me.
Do you still enjoy creating the content?
depending on what the content is.
What's your favorite type? I'm going to guess it's a vlog.
Yeah, I like vlog stuff that's behind the scenes of building the business, but also just fun. And like there's humor and we're goofing around, but we're also bringing people along for the journey of what we're building. And I like videos and vlogs that have more people included and incorporated than just me.
Yeah.
And then these big documentary pieces that we do, like we'll do one on the race we just hosted 2 weeks ago. That'll be a huge doc.
Yeah.
Those docs really move the needle for the brand. Like the doc we did at Leadville 100 a few years ago, huge needle mover for the brand and our mission. We've documented all these fitness preps and we do big videos from the races. So it's the whole channel is just this evolution of storytelling that I want to be able to look back 10, 20 years from now and go relive and watch the growth and journey of the brand and the people and the stories, because it's all been authentically documented.
What's been the most successful video you've ever put up in terms of downloads?
I mean, I'd say all of the ultra docs do really well, but I did a 6 month Ironman training series in 2020 and 2021. And I'd say that was the biggest needle mover for the brand, where we were gaining maybe 30,000 subscribers a month
Really?
during that series.
Was that surprising to you that they connected with that? Was that during COVID as well?
It was during COVID.
People were just locked in front of the YouTube machine.
Yeah, our business grew 400%
Holy cow.
from 2019 to 2020.
That was a heyday for content creators.
Yeah.
I mean, people were literally trunched in, stuck with idle time on their hands trying to figure out what to do with it.
And we didn't try to do this. Like, it wasn't our strategy, but we started creating running content right before running got really popular. So like we were creating running content. I was this bigger guy running and creating running content before COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And everyone then was like, you'll never be a runner. Like, you don't look like a runner. And then what happened? Gyms shut down.
Yeah.
All these non-runners started running. Running became cool. We had a year or 2 years worth of content on YouTube prior to. And then that was the catalyst for that next chapter for us.
God, that's crazy. How big is your content creation team?
So in the whole business, we have like 12 people on the team. But on working on my content specifically, it's like 2 people. Sometimes we'll flex based off of the size of the project.
Yeah.
But for the whole business, we have about 12 people. That's videographers, photographers, editors, directors.
You can capture the best content you want. If you don't know how to edit that, put it into something that's digestible for people, man, it's a very expensive terabytes.
We have a solid team. Like some of the best creators. My brand director, Jordan Utter, absolute stud. And then Trey Freeman, he leads all communications for the brand, social, tone of voice, photography. And then Jordan leads all video and creative. And those 2 guys together are just rock stars.
Powerhouse.
Yeah.
What do you got left on your bucket list? What do you want to accomplish in your 30s?
Man. I mean, right now it's I'm so just dialed into growing the business. So we just moved into a new headquarters. We're in a 76,000 square foot headquarters now. We have a new gym, new fulfillment center, new office space. We have a few goals that we're trying to chase down right now. So like, I'd say by the end of my 30s, the goal is to be the number one, the most successful, respected, and trusted endurance consumer brand in the world. So we've hyper-focused on endurance these last couple of years, and that's where the brand is heading. That's who the brand is right now. So it's disrupting a space that hasn't been disrupted in a long time.
How about outside of professionally? Like, what lights your fire? Do you have are you an Everest climber?
No.
Do you want to row the Atlantic in a stand-up paddleboard? I mean, what are we talking here?
I think like
People do some weird shit.
there's a lot of like physical accomplishments I still want to chase down. But it's more so like pushing my PR on the marathon. I want to run a sub 2:30 marathon eventually, so I want to shave 9 minutes off my marathon time.
Which I feel like at your level, when you're talking about shaving 9 minutes, people would say, yeah, dude, that's just 9 minutes. Just run faster. Which I suppose there's some essence to that, but I feel like at the margins you're talking about, this is very difficult.
Yeah, it's 20 seconds per mile faster, so I have to run a 5:45 minute per mile pace. So like that is
hard pass.
That's one of my next big endurance physical effort goals. I want to do a 200-mile ultra at some point. And more so personally, just like keep being and learning how to be a better father and husband. I think
That'll come in time, man. You need more time and reps. I mean, first off, here's what I can tell you. You're not going to be perfect at it, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have successes, and it's going to suck at times, and it's going to be amazing at times. It's a wild ride.
Just the 3 years I've been doing it, it's been a wild ride.
You have less control than you think, and that gets more true the older your kids are, which is terrifying, by the way.
It is terrifying. I think what I'm trying to do right now in my 30s, in preparation for my 40s and beyond, is taking that step back and thinking, what can I control and what can I do now to set my life up for the life that I want in the future with my family? Because I'll never forget, I was listening to this podcast years ago, and there was this guy being interviewed, and he just sold his business for $100 million. And the person interviewing him said, well, when you sold your business for $100 million, what's the first thing you did? And he said, well, I wanted to go travel the world with my family. So he went to his family and he said, hey, I just sold the business for $100 million. Let's go travel the world. Let's go enjoy the time together and spend some quality time. And his kids go, Dad, we don't even know you. Why would we want to travel the world with you? We haven't known you the last couple of years. I remember hearing that being like,
It's like a knife in the heart.
Yeah, that puts like a lot of things in perspective.
Yeah.
So I've thought about that episode ever since. It's like, what can I do now to keep chasing down all my dreams and aspirations, but not being ignorant to the collateral damage that I might be creating right now to set me up for failure in the future?
I think the first step is being aware that there is collateral damage. I don't know, and I'm probably guilty of this earlier in my life, specifically like deep into my military career. I wasn't considering it. I don't think I did any permanent damage. I have a great relationship with all three of my kids, but it starts with just understanding and knowing that the choices you make might have downstream cascading consequences on them. Mm-hmm. Some people don't ever get to that spot, and you see it. I mean, God, my kids' social circles, some of the stories that they tell me about their friends' relationships with their parents, like my jaw's on the floor. What? How did it get to that point?
Yeah. I think there's certain, just like in any operation you run, there's certain collateral damage that you're willing to accept.
Yeah.
And certain sacrifices you have to make, but it's like which ones are you willing to accept and which ones are you not willing to accept that guide your decisions.
Yeah. You going to write another book since you're so pumped about the first one?
As of right now, no, because I don't have like anything I want to write about. If in the future, like I don't want to be an author just to be an author.
Yeah.
I want to be able to talk about some things that are actually meaningful to me. If in 5 years.
What was your total word count on your book?
Man.
Oh, you should know this. Come on.
I honestly couldn't even tell you.
How thick is it?
It's like 300 pages.
It's about probably 65, 70,000 words.
I want to say maybe 75,000.
Okay.
Something around there.
It's a lot.
I remember editing the book where we just got to the hospital because my wife was going into labor and she had to get induced actually. So we got induced with our son Nico, and my editor texted me. It's like, hey, your manuscript, remember your edits are due in 2 days. I said, I thought they were due in 2 weeks. They said, no, 2 days. So I'm in the hospital, and my wife's just giving me the death stare. And I'm trying to make these edits to this book before my son was born. And I got it done. I remember I had a can of sardines. I'm eating sardines and I'm editing my book. My wife's like, "What are you doing?"
Trying to get it done.
Trying to get it done. I know less about the change when that baby boy's out.
Yeah. Do you travel much?
No.
Do you have places that you'd like to see?
I mean, my wife would love to go like to Italy and spend more time in Europe. I'd like to spend more time in Asia.
Yeah. What do you have like bucket list travel destinations? Asia, obviously. Is there anywhere else?
Italy, Asia, but right now it's
You don't want to like run a marathon in Antarctica like some psychopaths do.
maybe like the Swiss Alps. I'd love to
They
run
are
the
beautiful.
Swiss Alps.
Switzerland is unbelievable, man.
Yeah, it's a place like I've seen people run. Looks absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Like my focus is so dialed in right now to a few things that these bucket list items that I may want to go after one day, they're just like not on my near horizon, so I don't even like think about them or spend
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
time
I'm just curious.
considering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People will tell you that this is the path that you have to take, and if you don't take it, everything else is wrong. And I don't know if there's a right or wrong way. I think everybody else is completely different. As long as you get to your end state, I don't think the path necessarily matters.
Yeah, I think I'll get to a point in life where like some of these projects that I'm working on right now, I'll have wrapped up. Kids are maybe a little older, and it's like, okay, now let's start exploring what we want to do next. But right now I'm just so hyper focused on a few things. That's why even with travel, I don't do much of it just to be able to support my wife with
Yeah,
two
dude, you're in
kids.
and out today. You left Texas this morning, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get you back. I'll get you out of here in a few minutes. But on the nutrition side, in your business, what's been your most successful product?
It's been interesting. It's changed over the years, but there's this product called G1M Sport. It's carbohydrates and electrolytes that has become our best-selling product by far the last couple of years. So we started as a traditional bodybuilding supplement company, 2012. 2018, we launched our first health and wellness product, which is a green superfood powder. So 2012 to 2018, our product offering was pre-workout, creatine, whey protein, greens, reds. And then in 2020, when I was training for my first Ironman, we created a product called G1M Sport, which is carbohydrates and electrolytes, because all the stuff that was on the market was tearing my gut up because of very cheap carb sources. Like maltodextrin, for example, has a very low molecular weight, meaning it digests very slowly. And when you're consuming a lot of these carbs and electrolytes on the bike, for example, for multiple hours, you get gut rot. It just destroys your gut.
Yeah, you want it to pass through quickly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not looking for a gut bomb.
No, so you get like gas, bloating, stomach discomfort.
That sounds sweet in an endurance event.
Yeah, so I'd be like on the bike, hunched over, and my gut would be killing me. So I set out to find a carb source that didn't cause these issues. And I came across, after much trial and error, this carb source called cluster dextrin. It has a very high molecular weight. It digests very quickly. It's been extensively studied. So that product alone is 20 grams of carbohydrates per serving in the form of cluster dextrin, 350 milligrams of sodium per serving. And we launched that 2020. It was a sleeper of a product early on. In 2023, I think we were selling like 1,500 units a month of G1M Sport. And now we sell 30 to 35,000 units of it a month. And then we just launched a variation of that product called G1M Sport Plus, which is carbs, electrolytes, caffeine, and nootropics. So the G1M Sport kind of family of products right now are our hero SKUs that are just crushing it.
How is, are you a coffee drinker?
I drink coffee, yeah.
Okay. Is caffeine in the endurance world leveraged upon pretty heavily?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, you don't want too much of it, because if you're overstimulated, it'll affect your heart rate and your effort. So I found like the sweet spot is 150 milligrams of caffeine before endurance training, which is enough to stimulate and then reduce fatigue.
It's about what? That's about a cup of coffee, right?
Say a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But like if you used a pre-workout supplement, for example, for endurance training, that's probably overstimulating.
Like the Yellow Jackets.
Yes.
I don't know what they were, but I miss them.
Well, I mean, when I first got in the supplement industry, that's when remember Jack 3D?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
It had this ingredient called 1,3-dimethylamine.
Which is called meth.
Yes, which was banned because it was amphetamine.
PR every time in the gym. It's not a big deal.
I mean, that was like the pre-workout.
How did they get away with that? Did they just not ask?
I think it was like for a while it was an acceptable ingredient until it wasn't. And
I feel like a lot of people either got injured or died before that became unacceptable.
a lot of people went to the hospital for that product and ingredient specifically.
It's the glory days.
That was the glory days, yeah.
The wild, wild west, if you will.
The industry was the wild. I describe it that way. It was the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
It was nuts. When I got started, products were popping up on the industry and the internet, being sold and then taken down weeks later. The FDA was getting involved. Manufacturers were getting shut down. It was nuts. So I mean, that's why we enrolled all of our products in the NSF Certified for Sport program.
Yeah.
Just to get everything tested.
Probably not a bad idea. At least ethically and morally, I think that's a very good idea for your company to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to get you out of here so you can make sure you get to your flight. Round it up with where people can find you and support you.
Yeah.
I mean, your platform is massive, but remind the people.
Yeah. My business is bpnsubs.com. It's Bear Performance Nutrition. On YouTube, just search Nick Bear. I have over 1,000 videos that have documented my life from 2014 to today.
Are the skin tight green 700?
They're still there.
Good. That's what I'm talking about.
Just sort
legacy pieces.
Yeah, sort oldest to newest, and you will literally watch like 20,000 calorie eating days, neon green tights, deadlifting,
Hell yeah.
all the angles.
Never take stuff down. Leave it up for legacy.
It's all
you
up
have
there.
to. Yeah.
And then the book titled "Go on More."
Yep.
Can be found on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, wherever you purchase your books at.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for making the trip.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's get you back to your wife, man.
All right. Thank you.